Let's see, Mr. Fulbright's.
He's here.
I don't know. Can't see. Good evening. The Monday, July 13th, 2015 Common Council meeting is now in session. Is Reverend Ray Fulbright here? Large crowd? I'm not sure if I see him. If not, I'll ask Oliver Davis to give our invocation, please.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for being here tonight. We ask for your wisdom and guidance as we lead the city of South Bend. We thank you for our council. We thank you for our mayor. Guide us and keep us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vorty, would you please read the roll call?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. Henry Davis. Henry's here. Mrs. Shea.
Here.
Dr. Furlick.
Here.
Dr. Varner.
Present.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Present.
Vice President Dieter.
Present.
Mr. Furlick.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Present.
President Tim Scott.
Present.
All 9 present.
Report on subcommittee of minutes, please.
To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the June 22nd, 2015 meeting of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved. Signed, Tim Scott, David Varner.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Thank you. Under special business, just a couple of quick announcements. Bill 1815 handheld device is continued indefinitely at this point. I think under unfinished business, Councilman Davis, you probably will have a date for that. And also, anybody here in regards to the trash fees, 2615, that is also continued. Also, Mr.
Until
Horty.
July 27th.
To July 27th. I'm sorry. Yes. And Mr. Vorty, do we have a ZNA citizen member to swear in?
I did not see him present. Yeah, I see him. There he is. I'm sorry.
It's a big crowd.
It's a big crowd. Yes. Would our citizen member, please, from the Zoning Annexation Committee, please come forward?
Ronald. You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Ronald McCoy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a citizen member of the Zoning and Annexation Committee.
as a citizen member of the Zoning and Annexation Committee.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our first meeting is next 2 weeks. On the 27th. All right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vorty. We will move on to 1554.
1554, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, honoring, commending, and thanking Don Napoli for more than 37 years of dedicated service to our community as Director of the St. Joseph County Public Library.
We'd like for his wife, Carol, and the staff from the library to please come up and stand with us.
Anybody that's ever gotten a book at the library should probably...
Great. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend publicly honoring, commending, and thanking Donald J. Napoli for more than 37 years of dedicated service to our community as director of the St. Joe County Library. Whereas the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana recognizes that on March 10, 1941, Donald J. Napoli was born in Somerville, Massachusetts, to Lucy and Pasquale Napoli. And whereas the Common Council further recognizes that Mr. Napoli received his A.B. from Boston College in 1964, served as the captain of the Ordnance Corps in the United States Army from 1965 to 1967, and then continued his studies by earning a master's degree in library science from Catholic University of America in 1971. And whereas the Common Council notes that in the 126-year history of the St. Joe County Public Library District, there have been 5 directors with Donald J. Napoli serving in the capacity the past 37 years. And whereas downtown South Bend is the home of the main library with 9 branches libraries, all of which were built under Mr. Napoli's leadership, they have over 540,900 print materials, 7,697 e-books and e-magazines, 78,020 physical audio titles, 7,694 downloadable audio titles, 64,772 physical video titles, over 1,100 programs, and 630 children's programs as of 2012. A very diverse and growing audience of all ages, the opportunity to be a part of the first public library in the United States to have a worldwide page, now therefore be resolved by the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, as follows. Section 1. On behalf of all the residents of the City of South Bend, Indiana, the Common Council is especially honored and proud to recognize Donald J. Napoli for his vision and leadership as director of the St. Joseph County Library System for the past 37 years. Section 2. The Common Council congratulates Donald J. Napoli on his very recent retirement and wishes him and his wife Carol many years to learn, discover, and enjoy. We hope that they will now have more time to play chess, do woodworking, enjoy music, and make more memories together with their children and grandchildren. Section 3. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption by the Common Council and approved by the Mayor, our Common Council here. And it's indeed an honor to have him and our distinguished library staff. We'd like to have some of the members who would like to share some of their thoughts. And before we turn the mic over to our council. No, we kept you right off guard. That's good. Somebody got to come on up. 37 years. Come on now.
I've only spent 30 years with Don, so I don't know how much that counts. But I am Deb Fuda, the new director of the St. Joseph County Public Library. It's nice to see all of you, and thank you very much for honoring my boss, who has given so much to this community and so much to all of us, I think. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, all righty. Before we hear from, we'd like to hear from our council, starting with our second district councilman, Henry Davis.
Great, thank you. Mr. Napoli, thank you so much for your years of service. I had the opportunity working with you during my first term, and we went back and forth for a while, but we had the opportunity to reserve and keep a precious gem open in the city of South Bend, which was the LaSalle branch, library branch. And I've always, thanked you for that thereafter, because it was a struggle, but it was a necessary thing for the kids and the families in that area. And since then, I've grown to appreciate you even more for the work that you do, even back to when we were dealing with the Avon Theater as well within the district. So thank you again so much for your time spent here in this community, the selflessness that it takes to stay in the seat that you stayed for so long. And I wish you well in your retirement. And win some chess games for me.
Thank you, Don, for promoting literacy in our community. It's such an essential part of the community's well-being, and we have a fabulous library system thanks to you and your team.
Don, thank you so much. The library is often described as the jewel of the community. It's the Disneyland of knowledge, I feel. Thanks for providing that for us.
All right. Don, when you've been around as long as you and I have, you remember some things. And one of the things I remember was being really disappointed when you left to go to Cleveland. And I thought, what a shame. Next thing I knew, you were back, and you've been here ever since. I think that's an enormous benefit to the city. Appreciate all you've done, and certainly wish you the best in your retirement.
Don, I don't know why you went to Cleveland, but smart move coming back. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for all your service.
Thank you very much. I don't think sometimes a lot of people give you the credit for what you've done for the community over the span of your working here, of all the improvements, working again with a tight budget every single year, the amount of time and effort that you guys have put in, like Councilman Davis said, saving the library, upgrading all the libraries around town. It's just a great loss for the community, and I'm sure the new director, who's a great person, is going to jump in your shoes. But again, I wish you all the well. Tim Scott was too embarrassed, but he does have $5.10 of fines, I think, that's just left over, so before you could go. But again, we wish you all the luck in the world, and thank you for everything you did for the community.
Yeah, thank you, Don. You really helped build a world-class library system. Thank you.
Everything that I would have said, Don, the other council members have already stated that they would like to thank you for your commitment, one, to this community and to this county, but also the fine work that you've done in establishing an outstanding library system that we all can enjoy. And I really appreciate your ability to sit and to listen when we were dealing with some tough conversations. You didn't pull back from the table. You were there and were able to move forward, and I deeply appreciate that. Have a wonderful retirement.
And again, it's indeed an honor to honor you tonight. You can just go around town and see the work that you have done and your staff over in the 6th District. With our Western branch, our library was improved several years ago, and it's been a tremendous blessing for our district, our neighbors. And so we want to thank you, and right now I want to hear from you.
Well, I want to thank the council for all the support that is given the library over the years. And it has been there every time we've needed it. But I had a lot of help. I've got my administrative staff all here tonight. I didn't ask them to come, they came. But I'm sure they're going to do well. They're well trained, and they're dedicated to this library system, this county, and serving it well. And my wife. My wife Carol, who put up with a lot of nights of my not being home when I had to work on something, but and my children, my 3 girls came for the party. Are they here tonight? They're all on the West Coast. But thank you for everything you've done to support the St. Joseph County Library over the years. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Now we'll open it up to the public. One more.
I just wanted to say also that I thank this community for their hospitality and for their support of libraries. If people didn't use libraries, they wouldn't have a job. So, and also for the staff. I mean, nobody does anything like that alone. So you have to have a really good staff, and he has an excellent staff. They're all very dedicated people. And I have to say, from their early years, Don has been a hard worker. He's very committed to giving his full to the job. He worked, as he said, many hours at the beginning, especially when the technology was starting. I can remember him trying to teach himself how to use the computers. He would be down in the basement and spend like 6 hours working on something, and then I'd hear a nasty word. Because somehow it had all gotten deleted and he had to start over. So he taught himself a lot, but then he knew what good it could do for the community, so he really worked hard on it. He's, as you say, been very dedicated, and it's been a joy to be with him and go along the ride. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're ready.
Now, anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor of this resolution, please come forward.
Mayor Pete Buttigieg with the offices on the 14th floor of this building. I just want to thank the council for acknowledging Don in this way, and also this opportunity to recognize Carol and the entire team. I benefited from the library first as a kid, going in there to check out books on dinosaurs and the Titanic and tornadoes, other things I found interesting, and now benefit from the great alliance we have with the library to make this community a better place. It's not for nothing that libraries were often regarded as the mark of how civilized a city or a country is over the millennia, and it's a real testament to this community
that we have such a terrific library. Dawn's successor will have big shoes to fill, but I know she's going to do terrific because she's standing on such a great foundation. So thank you to the entire team, and the whole city wishes you the very best in your future endeavors.
Great. And I must say, anybody wishing to speak against this resolution? Seeing none?
Motion to adopt by acclamation. Second.
All in favor?
I think Don was going to say something. Don was going to say something.
He did.
Again, wasn't he?
I just wanted to thank the public for the support they've given our library over the years, and that has been wonderful. They've been with us all the way and have been there when we needed them. So I thank them for using our library and for supporting it.
All right.
You didn't know that, did you? Congratulations.
Good looking. You know, I'll send you some Valium. I'll send you some Valium now.
Yes, very good.
Okay, how are we going to get a nice picture with everybody?
What I'm saying is that
Get over there, Varner, photobomb it.
why are we at
40, photobomb that. Adrian, very quick. Photobomb it.
Is that too much? Yeah.
Oh, is that our priest? I think that's the priest.
Okay.
Is that in the back?
Special business 1555, Mr. Vorty.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, publicly honoring and thanking Kelly Ray Bone for the many contributions she has made to our community as Executive Director of the Music Village.
Thank you, Mr. Bordy and members of the council. Is Kelly Ray? I saw her walk in here. Kelly Ray, come on up here. I think it's Kelly Ray Brown. That's correct. Family members want to come up here also?
Thank you.
Cameron's here. Cameron was part of this.
Members of the group?
Cameron. I know that. We don't want to shortchange anybody, so this is Kelly Ray Brown. She's the executive director, soon to be retired, I guess, of the Music Village. Tamara Hinkson was instrumental in getting this started. You might remember Tamara from being a member of the redevelopment.
No.
Department? Downtown South Bend, okay. And Bill. Yeah?
Sorry, Rachel Berryman.
Rachel Berryman, okay. Let me get ourselves organized here and get my glasses on. The resolution reads as follows. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, publicly honoring and thanking Kelly Ray Bone for the many contributions she has made to our community as Executive Director of the Music Village. Whereas, the South Bend Common Council notes that the Music Village, a community medical arts alliance, aims to teach and present music that reflects the rich and varied cultural traditions of South Bend area's diverse communities. The location of the Music Village in the historic JMS building expresses their commitment to restoring vitality and vibrancy to downtown South Bend. And whereas, the Common Council recognizes Kelly Ray Bone as one of the founding members and executive director of the Music Village, which celebrated its 3-year anniversary last year. Ms. Bone's determination and desire to bring art and culture to the South Bend community enabled her to take the Music Village from concept to inception. And whereas the Common Council further commends Ms. Bone's devotion and continued development of South Bend's downtown area. She has enriched the community through musical collaboration and artistic talents. Ms. Bone has made it a priority to perform in DTSB events, along with many members of the Music Village. Her vested interest and desire to enhance the South Bend community is evident, as are her contributions. And whereas, originally from Baltimore, Ms. Bone has been an active resident of the South Bend community for more than 20 years. Ms. Bone is a graduate of Indiana University, South Bend, with a Bachelor of Arts, BA in Women's and Gender Studies and Political Science. She's been a performer in the South Bend community for more than 10 years as a vocalist for the band Everyday People. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, as follows. Section 1. On behalf of the residents of the City of South Bend and South Bend's Common Council is proud to honor Kelly Ray Bowen for her commitment and enthusiasm to cultivating art and culture in South Bend community. Section 2. The Common Council wishes Kelly Ray Bowen continued success and hopes that her life will be filled with new adventures and countless opportunities. Ms. Bowen will be embarking on a year-long expedition as a performer with America's Great Loop Cruisers. Is that correct?
We're not going as performers, but we'll probably perform along the way.
Okay. Let the record be so corrected. Section 3. The resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption by the Common Council and approval by the Mayor. So first, I think we should probably ask Kelly Ray. She wants to say a few things.
Kelly Ray?
Thank you, Dave.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. I'm looking around the room, and every single face that's familiar has contributed to the Music Village being in existence at all. I was the right person at the right time in the right place, but so many of you on the council, the mayor, certainly you, Dave, Tamara, who was one of the best team partners to have in those early days, DTSB and Aaron Perry, I don't think any of it would have happened if you hadn't listened to Jerry's great idea. I just thank you to everyone. It's really been the most challenging and rewarding work I've ever done, and I will never forget this experience.
Okay. Tamara, would you like something? God love you. Okay.
Kelly Ray is an amazing person, and I had the privilege of being with Kelly Ray Bowen and about 60 other community members at a meeting in October of 2011 where the idea of doing a community school of music modeled on the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago was broached. And the idea was we wanted to see how much interest the community had. And there was a handful of people that got so excited by the presentation, Kelly Ray being foremost among them, that they decided that this would be something that we could have here, and not only something that we could have here, but something that we could have in the near future, not in 5 years or 10 years, but within a year. So from concept to the doors opening in June of 2012. So that was something that took a lot of bravery. It was a lot of charting unknown waters, a lot of flinging herself into areas unknown and communicating what she needed with people along the way. And then the community stepped up. And Kelly Ray is the type of person, she's so warm and so friendly and so welcoming to everybody that it really worked. She formed a lot of partnerships that will outlast her tenure as executive director of the Music Village, and she has really set the foundation for the school to go to the next level. So I want to thank you, Kelly Ray, for all those hours and hours in the basement where you never saw the sun, for everything that you've done for the community, for music, and for the city of South Bend, Indiana. Thank you.
One of the fellows here that has led the guitar jam, which some of us try to participate in periodically, for the last, every time I've been here for years, Bill has a little story to tell that he'd like to relate to the council with regards to some of the effects of the Music Village.
Thank you, council, for having this put together.
Name and address, please.
My name is Bill Adcock, and I'm not a South Bend resident.
That's fine. Address for the record.
I'm from Edwardsburg, Michigan. And this story is, I won't reveal the name of the person that to tell you how important this can be to a community. A young fellow that came to the jams, which I ran for quite some time, came in, went to me one night and said, you know, I was in a really dark place. I was considering suicide. And he said, and then I came to the Music Village. So that's how important this can be. So I want to thank all the financial supporters and all the people that came to the jam sessions with me for the last 3 years. Councilman Dave has been there quite frequently. The mayor has come out and played music with us. He's a guitar picker himself, so it's been a rewarding experience. So anything you can do to support the Music Village, by golly, step up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's often easy to get excited about those really large things like baseball stadiums and football stadiums and a big new building or something like that. But one of the things I think really makes a community more of a community is when the average people, not the athletes, can get together and do something and find something in common. This has allowed that. I think the Unity Gardens, which has been, I think, enormously successful. And once people realize it's there, I think it helps make this community much more of a likable place and happy place to live. So, with that in mind, I would ask the chair of the council to take it from here.
Council members like to comment. Ms. White?
Well, just thank you so much for your commitment to the arts, and we wish you the very best as you start this next journey of your life.
Yeah, Kelly Ray, thank you, and your next trip sounds amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for all the great work and all the places that I've seen you and the band perform. This honor is well deserved for everything that you guys have done for the community, and it's great to see 2 First District people being honored tonight, right out of the gate. So thank you for all the great work you've done.
I wrote down here, based off the comments, says never underestimate the power of a handful of musicians coming together to enhance the city. Thank you so much for what you have done, and best wishes to you in the future.
Kelly Ray, it's been great having you here and having you do what you need to do, and music is just so vital. So it is great that we're honoring the arts tonight, it seems like. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Music is really the soul. They've shown in Alzheimer's people or persons with senile dementia that the last thing to leave them is their love for music. And it's true with autism. It's true with a lot of disease processes we have. So congratulations, and you have my profound admiration for anybody that can teach Dick File and Dave Varner.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Wade, thank you so much and congratulations. Obviously, it's an honor. I believe in arts as well. I've been so excited about the arts that I went to college and majored in art. And not only that, I'm an accomplished and award-winning drummer as well. And so I really believe in the magic of business and what it can do for people. It's done something great for me as well. So thank you so much for bringing it to our community and making sure people will be able to gain from it. Thank you so much.
At this point, would anybody from the public wish to come and speak in favor of this resolution? Please step up to the podium. Cecil.
Hi, Cecil Eastman, 57112 Peachstone. Pete, what can't you do, man? Anyway, being a musician myself, I completely understand the value of Music Village, and I'm not sure if I should thank Kelly Ray or condemn her for feeding my brother-in-law's ukulele addiction, but beyond that, I wish her the very best, and thank you.
Next, please.
Becky Kaiser, 913 Diamond Avenue, South Bend, Indiana. Kelly Ray has been a part of our extended family for many, many years, since before she even had children. And she is not only a consummate musician and obviously a wonderful businesswoman, but I just want to say she has also raised 3 extremely successful, productive, and wonderful children. And to do everything she does and still be able to do that is amazing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, please. Name and address.
Timothy Scott. Pete Buttigieg, 107 West North Shore Drive. Just want to add my voice and let the record reflect my view that the city of South Bend is a better place because of the Music Village and because of Kelly Ray's efforts. And as she said, all those who backed her, but she really did make this possible. There's nothing more fun. So many people come to us with ideas. There's nothing more fun than watching somebody take that idea, run with it, succeed. I think my favorite moment was running into her early on, asking how it was going. She said, well, the only problem is I don't know how to run a nonprofit. And I said, what are you going to do about that? And she said, I'm going to figure it out. And she clearly did. She kept learning and kept growing as a successful social entrepreneur, just as she inspired others to learn and grow as musicians. So we're just very grateful as a city and look forward to hearing about. Oh, one other thing. If you haven't heard her sing, it's actually remarkable talent. So those Cruz folks are missing out if she doesn't perform. Thank you for recognizing this great member of our community.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to dare to speak against, please come to the podium. Oh, I think we have one more for.
I was about to say.
My name's Dick File. I'm from Oak Brook Drive in Granger, but I have an office here, of course, on Washington Street. And just wanted to say that Jerry Toma had this concept that came from Old Town Music School in Chicago. And he and I went in there to a jam session and had a wonderful afternoon. And not long after that, he took off for New Zealand for 6 months. And so I thought I'd better do something to help out. And we've had a wonderful time. I think the thing that you always have to keep in mind is that a city isn't just about work and difficulties and taking out the garbage and taking care of the streets. It's also a place where people should have fun and enjoyment. And that's what the Music Village is all about, to bring us some energy and some fun and enjoyment to downtown South Bend. And we don't want it anywhere but downtown South Bend as we go forward. So congratulations to Kelly Ray and everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. At this point, anybody wishing to speak against? Seeing none.
Motion to adopt by acclamation.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Good.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will now have the report from city offices. The mayor, Pete Buttigieg, is here to brief the council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Look, I was just here. Thank you for the opportunity to visit with you and touch base concerning a few updates on what's going on in our city. I'll try to be brief. First of all, as I'm sure you saw announced, pleased to advise that we have a terrific new person, public servant, joining the community in our new chief of staff, Dr. James Mueller. He's going to start with us in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, in fact, on the 27th. And he's somebody who grew up here in South Bend. I've known him since school. Has spent the last few years working in the United States Senate in Washington, but is ready to come home. Understands our community, and I think will be a great asset to the mayor's office. And I think you'll enjoy working with him. So I'm looking forward to introducing him to you. And in the meantime, I hope you'll join me in wishing Catherine Rooswell, who has gone to begin her studies at Harvard. I wanted to start with an update on the three most visible priority initiatives in the administration, because each of them has come along a ways since I was last able to be here and speak with you about them. First, as you may have seen in recent media coverage, the initiative to address 1,000 vacant and abandoned homes is on track. We haven't hit day 1,000 yet. That's going to be in November. But it does look as if we are going to reach the 1,000th house between now and then. Of those, 442 have been demolished, 125 are under contract, 62 have been addressed with federal funds through the State Blight Elimination Program. Probably the best number out of all, one that exceeded our expectations, and this is very good news, is that 332 houses were repaired. So 332 cases where a house that was deemed vacant and abandoned was addressed not by being torn down, but by being repaired, and often at the expense of the owner, thanks to the more complete, comprehensive, and successful collections process that code enforcement is undertaking.
That's an accomplishment, man. That's an accomplishment.
Also received the year one update on the group violence initiative. So it's now been more than 1 year since that has been at the centerpiece of our strategy on dealing with group and gang-related violence in our community. What we saw is a 31% drop in criminally assaulted gunshot victims in the city over that period. So it's a very encouraging result. Now, that's not 100%, so we don't get to sit back and rest easy. It's also the case that in cities that have applied this strategy successfully and cities that haven't, this is a really critical period. Locking in that strategy and those early results and making sure that we expand and retain what is best about this strategy. But the bottom line is we think that we have made real results keeping a lot of people alive and out of jail through the interventions of law enforcement and social services, a true community effort that would not have been possible without a number of leading community lights coming to the table to help. And Smart Streets, if you've been down Lincoln Way West, you've seen a lot of activity there, nearly complete. We did receive some feedback that west of Olive, the bike lanes are a little bit confusing because of the buffer zone that was created. So you will see a sort of crosshatch painted in order to clarify the difference between the bike lane and the buffer zone. We have seen the little bike icons laid down in there, so hopefully that makes it clearer already, but we think that will improve the aspect of it. Overall, getting very good feedback on the sidewalk, curb, streetscape, tree, and traffic improvements, that investment in the west side in an area that's really needed it. And we're also seeing that the traffic flow seems to be working quite well. So I want to thank the council for the support for that program. An economic update, since we're about halfway through the year, we've seen $92.6 million private investment and 586 new jobs announced. That's only counting the ones that have gone through the public process. So, for example, tonight the council will be invited to take up some tax abatements related to some new investment and job creation. That would be in addition to the numbers that I've just quoted you. We're also seeing unemployment below 6%. It's at 5.9% for the last month that's been reported, which is May. It's down from 7.8, so down about a quarter from a year ago. Also encouraging, we continue to have our work cut out for us, but we've seen unemployment really down to a level we haven't seen in more than 5 years here, and that's encouraging. We're positioning ourselves to compete in the Regional Cities Initiative, championed by the governor, largely through the efforts of the Regional Development Authority, which will be stood up and will soon be in a position to submit our projects. And lastly, I just want to point out that some of our existing businesses have grown. Lippert secured a 6-year, $11 million contract. That's the company that's in the old A.J. Wright building, so we're going to see more people going to work there on the southwest side. And AM General has won a $372 million contract. We've seen at least 200 workers already recalled. The plant, of course, is in Mishawaka, but a great many of the people who work in that plant live right here in South Bend. So I wanted to note that. A couple other things just to share with you. We had the opportunity this weekend to help roll out the Veterans Community Connections Initiative. You'll be hearing more about this from us soon. We were acknowledged by the Secretary of Defense at the National Association of Counties meeting on Saturday. We're one of 3 communities in the country that's taking this approach. San Diego, Maricopa County, which is where Phoenix is, and then South Bend. We think it's a chance to go beyond saying thank you for your service by activating a network of local volunteers who can help retiring and demobilizing members of the military to get better connected in the community. We think it fills a gap, and I'll be looking forward to sharing more with you about that. Also, stay tuned for more on jobs efforts for summer jobs for youth, partnering with Jobs for America's Graduates, or the JAG effort. We have plenty of challenges in front of us, too. Not long ago, I was at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I'm on the Water Council there now. A lot of the mayors, like South Bend, are very concerned about the escalating costs of the long-term control plan imposed by the EPA when it comes to our compliance with the Clean Water Act. I want to thank the members of the council, Dr. Varner, the Utilities Committee, and Dr. Furlick for convening people in the community who are very concerned about this issue too, and we'll continue to monitor that and look for ways both to save on the plan as it's currently conceived and open the door to a more affordable future. We had a very good presentation this morning to my cabinet on the issue of poverty and how we are making our decisions in ways that are intentional about the effect that they have on low-income people. We're somewhere between 25 and 30% poverty rate here, but that really doesn't capture it all. The reality is that closer to 50% of people in this community are living at what you would call the asset-limited, income-constrained employed, or ALICE metric, another way of describing the working poor, something that I think calls for more attention, especially with regards to how we can support transportation options to keep folks in good-paying jobs. We're beginning to have our budget meetings, department by department, get that first look that we will then coordinate with the council once we know the rough outlines of what we're going to propose. We are preparing for flatline revenues for a tight year. We hope it'll be a little looser than that, but we're budgeting conservatively. And so we're going to have some tough decisions, but I'm confident, as always, working together with the council, that we'll arrive at a balance that reflects the priorities of the community. With that, I'll see if there are any questions from members of the council.
Due to time, what I'd like to do is 2 questions each from council members, starting with Mr. Davis in the 2nd District.
Thank you, sir. And Mayor, I want to say again, thank you so much for responding to my letter that I sent to you about the grass cutting. I have a few questions that are to come back with, but I will send you a letter again on those issues. The question I want to ask you right now, Liquid Components, they have good numbers. Is there a way that this city can promote their job openings through a local temporary agency versus one that is in Elkhart County? The conversations I'm having with workers that are from the local area, they have to go to Elkhart County, Goshen area, to sign up for the jobs, obviously travel there, and then obviously come back and wait to be to see if they were successful. That's the first question. The second question is also, I want to ask you, as a matter of fact, about the poverty issue, and I've been talking about that for the last couple of years. I want to ask you an extended invitation to ask you, would you be willing to walk with me in the 2nd District to look at some of these areas that are hard hit by what we call poverty, loss of tax base, joblessness, food deserts, etc., things that people actually suffer from in impoverished states? So those are my 2 questions, sir.
Great. Well, on the second one, thank you for the invitation. I look forward to it. And on the first one, I'll have to look into that. I'm not familiar with the dynamics inside the company, but anytime there's an opportunity to make sure jobs in South Bend are easy for people who live in South Bend to get, that's positive. So I'd be very interested in exploring ways to support that.
Because what I think has happened is that the people that get first take on those jobs are people from the Elkhart County, given the fact that they're basing it out of Elkhart County, but also they're holding job fairs in Elkhart County as well for jobs here in South Bend. And per our tax abatement, it's supposed to support folks that are here locally, not the ones who are going to try to drive in. Not against that, but obviously there is an unemployment rate and also 50% poverty working poor rate that we just got done speaking about that should lend more support here than versus there.
We'll be sure to look into that.
Thank you, sir.
Valerie Shea.
Thank you. I'll withhold my questions. We have a number of people here for other topics, so my question is a pending one, and I know we're working on it.
Fred Furlick.
Just 2 comments. I want to congratulate you on your 1,000 homes in 1,000 days. What a great initiative that is for the community. Secondly, I want to congratulate you on our code department, which I'm working closely with, and how they're really cleaning up South Bend and making South Bend a first-rate city. Thank you for those 2 programs.
Thank you.
Dr. Varner.
I have no questions at the moment.
Oliver Davis?
No questions at the moment.
Derek Jeter?
Yes, I do. 2 questions. In regards to the bike, the bend, and all that stuff, I know that your former chief of staff is working on an event, sort of type of event, ordinance event. Did she share that with you as far as where she'd gotten with that? Because we had talked about that before, and actually Kathy and I talked about that. Was she or still looking into? Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. The issue there is we've seen this growth in special events. It's a nice problem to have. A lot of great organizations wanting to do good things in our community, but it's becoming harder and harder to accommodate them from a public works and public safety perspective. So we always try to work with the organizers to get a realistic plan. A lot of times they have expectations. Our folks have certain requirements. Yes, our chief of staff was developing that in partnership with the police and public works. That work's ongoing, but we certainly won't let that
Is
stop.
the new person, or is Brian going to be the lead on that?
Brian will be tracking that in the interim, and then we'll circle back and decide how to staff that going forward.
Okay, and my second question, I sent an email out due to the extensive, and I don't know how many people are here tonight, just to express their concerns about the invasion of just about on every corner of South Bend of the people with signs. We did just a short presentation from the law from the prosecutor's office in November of the state statute regarding that. But tonight, even coming in today, there are people in Portage and Elwood, Angela and Portage, and that has never happened. What do you plan on conferring with the chief, or do you have any plans to look into that?
Yeah, I'll be discussing that with the chief. I believe there may have been a discussion of that this afternoon. Sorry, I wasn't able to be there for that. But certainly something we want to look at. The law constrains us on what we can do, but it also gives us some tools. And we want to continue to make sure that we're using the tools that we can to make sure that the streets of our city look and feel safe.
Okay, thanks. Kevin Furley.
No questions.
Karen White.
No, thank you for your report.
All right. Thank you.
And myself, no. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I guess I should probably say one thing, just because there's a lot of folks in the room, and I'm guessing they're not here about the zoning ordinance. So just before I excuse myself from the chamber, I would just remark that what I love about this city is that we have ways to be vigorous about the way we feel about things without being vicious, and we have ways to be passionate without being personal, and we have ways to be different without being divided. And what I love about this city is that anytime something or someone has threatened to divide us one against the other, our city has resisted that and come out united because we're all fundamentally in this together. So I just thought it was important to say that. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Back to business. I would entertain a motion to resolve the committee of the whole.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Would you pass down, Mr. Davis?
I would like to call the Committee of the Whole to order. The Committee of the Whole is where the Common Council sits as a committee. The title of each proposed ordinance is read by the city clerk, followed by a report from the committee chairperson of the standing committee, which held a public hearing on the bill. The chairperson will announce the committee's advisory recommendation. If the proposed ordinance is a zoning ordinance, a report from area plan staff member will first be given, followed by the petitioner, who will give a formal presentation at the podium. I'm asking everyone in the chamber if you would turn off any electronic devices to their silent mode at this time. I would not like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to continue, is it substitute or just regular? Regular 1815 to continue it indefinitely.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion might hear your vote.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. Would like to also entertain a motion regarding Bill 26-15.
Continue to 7/27/15.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we will continue Bill 26-15 as requested by the petitioner. All those in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote? Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. Mr. Vorty, will you please give second reading to Bill 33-15?
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending sections of Chapter 9, Article 3 of the South Bend Municipal Code to address ambulance/medical service fees.
Is there a committee report?
There sure is. Today, the Health and Public Safety Committee met and discussed the pros and cons of this, and we're sending that to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. We do have the petitioner before us. We ask that you state your name and address and to give us a brief summary of Bill 33-15, please.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, my name is Stephen Cox. I'm the South Bend Fire Chief with offices at 1222 South Michigan Street. Ladies and gentlemen, the bill before you is basically a summation of the recommendation by the fire chief that's required by city ordinance as an annual report regarding ambulance fees. The increase that we are recommending is based off of the Medicare ambulance fee schedule that is published every year and shows basically a very modest increase in our ambulance user fees. It allows our department to maximize the amount of money that we basically get reimbursed by the federal government and by insurance companies as we provide service for ambulance, 911 ambulance service.
Council members, do you have any questions of the petitioner?
Negative.
Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation. We'll move to the public hearing portion. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Bill 33-15? Anyone wishing to speak in support? Seeing no one, is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition? Again, I see no one. The public hearing is now closed.
I'd basically like to give a favorable recommendation.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Bill 33-15 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to rise and report.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries.
I know. Thank you. The full Common Council is now in session. Mr. Vorty is third reading for 3315, please.
Third reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending sections of Chapter 9, Article 3 of the South Bend Municipal Code to address ambulance/medical service fees.
Move for the passage of Bill 33-15.
Second. Mr. Vorty?
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mrs. Shea.
Aye.
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter.
Aye.
Mr. Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
President Tim Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. We'll move to resolutions.
So make a motion to continue 1556 to, we're not continuing that? My bad.
Nope.
Go ahead. Tim?
Resolutions. This is the portion of the council meeting where the Common Council hears bills filed, proposed resolutions. The title of each proposed resolution is read by the city clerk. A report from the committee, a chairperson, standing committees which the bill was referred to for an advisory review, and recommendation is then given. If the proposed resolution is requesting a zoning or special exception, a report from the building department will first be given, followed by petitioners who giving a formal presentation at the podium. If the proposed resolution is requested a tax abatement, a report from the City Community Investment Department will be given by the petition and followed by the petitioner giving a formal presentation at the podium. On all other proposed resolutions, formal presentations by the petitioner will be given immediately after the committee chairperson's report. Following the formal presentation, council members may ask preliminary questions only, with other council comments being heard during the council portion. During the public portion on each proposed resolution, members of the public are invited to address council. Please give your name and address and comments on the bill. If you have questions, they will be addressed by the presenter during the rebuttal. Each member of the public is limited to 5 minutes, with those speaking in favor going first, followed by those in opposition. Then 5-minute rebuttal period for the presenter on the bill. Mr. Vorty, would you read the first resolution?
1556, a resolution confirming the adoption of a declaratory resolution designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 122 Callender Street, South Bend, Indiana 46614, as an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 6-year real property tax abatement for JSK Development, Inc., Ireland Hospitality, LLC.
Mr. Fielding.
Good evening, Chris Fielding, Florida Department of Community Investment, 14th floor of this building. Before you have the confirming resolution for JSK Development, who is the owner of Ireland World LLC. They're proposing to build a $6 million Holiday Inn Express at the corner of Ireland Road in Michigan. They've requested a 6-year tax abatement on real property taxes. They committed to creating 14 jobs. Total taxes, as you see here, we have this slide up for you this year. Total taxes that they pay is $1,310,000. This is also a win for our community again, because this is also a contributor to the Hotel Motel Tax Fund, which goes to support Century Center and many of the other public venues that we have here. And also Bernie Feeney is here representing JSK Development, if you have any questions.
Sir, would you come up and make a brief statement? Name and address, please.
Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Bernie Feeney. I'm a registered land surveyor, 715 South Michigan Street here in South Bend. I'm here this evening on behalf of JSK Development. As Chris mentioned, the developers are planning a Holiday Inn Express that will hire 14 part and full-time employees at the location. This location is in front of, or along Michigan Street, in front of the Kmart, the old Kmart, now Sears, right at the South Gateway entrance to the city. Amenities on this particular site include free parking, free breakfast, pool, a fitness room, and a conference room, in addition to the rooms that they have. You're dealing with developers who have a significant amount of experience in this particular aspect. They are already developers of 3 hotels in Elkhart County, 3 hotels in St. Joseph County, 1 in Roseland, and 1 in Schererville. This is not a hobby for them. This is what they do, and they are very good at it. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the presenter or the petitioner, Mr. Dieter?
Thank you. They don't own the property behind Kmart, do they?
No, Mr. Dieter, they own the property right along Michigan Street.
Okay.
Mr. Davis.
This questions for Chris. This particular property within a tax, TIF area?
Yes, it is.
It is?
It's in the south side development allocation area.
That's why I kind of figured. That's why I asked. Okay.
However, there is no TIF investment in the project.
I'm sorry?
There is no TIF investment committed to the project.
No, my concern is that all new developments happening within TIF areas, and that really pushes us into a vulnerable position when we're talking about our budget and growing the tax base here in the city. It's a different conversation from today, but that's why I asked.
Okay. No other questions from council? No. We'll open up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of 1556, please come forward. Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1556, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll turn it back to council.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Mr. Vorty?
Mrs. Shea?
Aye.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis?
Aye.
Vice President Dieter?
Aye.
Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
And President Tim Scott?
Aye.
That would be 9 ayes.
Okay, thank you. 1557, please.
Should we take all 3 of these?
I'm sorry, I was one ahead. There'll be a motion after the 1557 for 3 bills to be heard together.
1557, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating a certain area within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 824 North St. Peter Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46617, as a residentially distressed area for purposes of a 5-year residential real property tax abatement for Jeffrey and Marie Spoonhour.
Okay, thank you. Presenter? Oh, report from Community Investment. Thank you.
Community Investment sends this forward favorably.
All right, thank you, Brock.
Good evening, council members. Thank you. Brock Sneed, 14th floor of this building, Department of Community Investment. Before the council today is a residential real property tax abatement for Jeffrey and Marie Spoonhour. They propose to build a $300,000 home on the St. Peter's Street, which is up just south of Notre Dame. The project is a single-family home. The new taxes created over the 5-year period are $15,441. The estimated taxes to be abated over the 5-year period are $2,142. The total taxes to be paid over the 5-year period are $13,299. The petitioner is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Sir, if you step up, state your name and address in a brief.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jeff Spoonhour. My address is 1106 Stanfield Street, South Bend, Indiana 46617.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? No. Seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of 1557, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1557, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll turn it back to council.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Mr. Bordy.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis?
Aye.
Vice President Dieter?
Aye.
Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
Mrs. Shea?
Aye.
And President Tim Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you.
Can I make a motion to hear 1558, 1559, and 1562?
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Mr. Bordy? 1558, 59, and 60, please.
Very good.
62.
1568. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as the southeast corner of Adams Road and Dillon Drive, South Bend, Indiana 46628, an economic revitalization area for purposes of an 8-year real property tax abatement for GLC Portage Prairie, LLC. 1559. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving and recommending a proposed master lease between GLC Portage Prairie, LLC as lessor and the South Bend Redevelopment Commission as lessee. 1562. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving the disposition of real property located at 51190 Mayflower Road and 51270 Mayflower Road, South Bend, Indiana.
Okay, thank you.
Community Investment sends these three forward favorably.
Now, Mr. Field.
Chris Fielding, Department of Community Investment, offices on the 14th floor of this building. First of all, I just want to thank Kathy Skansky for her help assisting in this. This is kind of the first time we've all gone down this path as an economic development tool, and she was a great help, so thank you very much, Kathy. Before you have, thank you for hearing these together. You have a multifaceted development project here, whereby we're requesting a favorable recommendation to the Redevelopment Commission for a development agreement and master lease that we'll be taking forward on Thursday. That master lease would actually allow us to partner with Great Lakes Capital, who is the owner of Great Lakes Capital LLC, to build a 200,000 square foot spec building here in Mariplex on lot number 7 on approximately 22 acre site. The second part is a tax abatement on that building, as the city, as the Redevelopment Commission, would be entering into a master lease for 5 years. It only makes sense, number one, that we don't pay taxes, and number two, the tax abatement would already be in place as a means of attracting tenants to the building and already have the incentives in place. Upon approval of the building, the period for the tax abatement being offered is an 8-year tax abatement. The total taxes that they would pay on that would be $1,157,000. Total taxes to be abated would be $734,000. On the master lease portion of the incentive package, it's a maximum out-of-pocket of redevelopment commission TIF funding of $1,674,000 over a 5-year period, if the building is not leased. We have every belief in our efforts and that the interest and momentum that we have in the community if the building would lease, certainly within 12 to 24 months, our goal being that it would actually be leased before it was done.
Could you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Which part?
About the amount of time they're looking forward to leasing and what happens if they do not get it leased.
If it doesn't lease?
You just talked about that. I didn't hear you. I couldn't hear you.
The redevelopment commission would enter into a 5-year lease, which would be declining. So we would pay 100% of the rent the first year, and then it would decrease 20% every year for 5 years. So in the sake of the rent, we would start at $2.79 a square foot, which is actually noted here on the schedule. This is actually notes what the average going rate for both warehouse, flex, and manufacturing space is in St. Joe County right now. So knowing this is going to be a 200 square foot cross dock building with 32 foot clear building or ceilings and 50-foot bays, it's really expected this would be a great distribution building. So for warehouse space, you'll see the blue line here denotes that that's the going rate for rent in the city of South Bend right now. We start at $279 in year 1, which is here, and then we decline 20%. So in the 5th year, if this lease would go that far, we're actually only paying 56 cents a square foot for the building. So we feel like we've created a deal whereby there's enough incentive for the developer that they're not making any money on the deal until they get a third-party tenant in the building, but it allows us to have a building to be able to attract the businesses, which is one of our biggest challenges in the community right now, is that we do the highest ceilings in an industrial building available we have right now is 22 foot. And businesses are not interested in that.
Okay.
We also have Rich Deal and Jeremy Clements here from Great Lake, representing Great Lakes Capital. If you have any other questions, any one of us would be happy.
We need the formal presentation.
Yeah, could we?
Mr. Dale?
Please state your name and address and give us a brief.
Thank you, President Scott. My name is Richard Deal from Barnes & Thornburg with offices at 100 North Michigan Street here in South Bend. I'm pleased to join Jeremy Clements from Bradley Company, who is a senior broker, industrial kind of building specialist from Bradley, who's been assisting GLC Portage Prairie with building projections and market research and study for this project as well. So as Chris kindly shared before you are really two resolutions from GLC Portage Prairie's perspective. The first is approval of a master lease. The second is a designation of this corner of Dillon Drive and Adams Road as an economic revitalization area for purposes of tax abatement. Chris did an excellent job of explaining the project, and as the council is well aware, the core aspect of this comes from encouragement from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the state, as well as success stories throughout the state of enabling or supporting private-public partnerships in order to build spec buildings, in order to attract and have move-in ready space, in order to attract tenants to our community who might otherwise be site selecting and ranking us, to go somewhere else. A couple of things that I just did want to mention to supplement what Chris mentioned. The proposed master lease that the Redevelopment Commission would consider with your approval of the resolution tonight is a gross lease. So the rent that would be paid solely on unoccupied space is our total gross amount. There's no flow-through expenses for maintenance, taxes, repairs, insurance, or otherwise. And as Chris mentioned, the obligation or the lease rate declines 20% per year through the 5-year term and only would apply to the unoccupied space. We think that this master lease, together with the abatement, is an ideal tool to create an incentive that's attractive, not only to have a spec building that's a move-in ready building here in our community, to incentivize businesses to locate here, but as well as with the tax abatement piece, it will benefit those tenants who are going to be looking at this space and South Bend as a home for their growth. So we appreciate your support and answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions for the...
Yeah.
Henry?
Sure. I think I misunderstood, or I'm going back to the initial question that I asked Chris. So my question is, what is the requirement for filling the building? I think you gave us a hypothetical of 12 to 24 months. But what is there a requirement for filling the building?
Yeah, there's not a requirement. The lease is the master lease, where the developer would master lease this space to the redevelopment commission, is created such as the structure you see here, where it's the incentive for both the redevelopment commission and the developer is to get a third-party tenant in as quickly as possible.
Right.
Because the project is upside down until that happens. And the projections are that if, with the master lease in place and construction underway, that would enable the city, to the extent it can help support this effort, as well as the developer, to market the space with the hope of having as much of the building actually pre-leased during construction. But the hope, and I believe what Chris was mentioning, is the expectation would be to have the building fully occupied within 24 months of completion.
Well, sure, and thank you for that. And I'm going to go back. Just give me a couple of seconds. We've understood that the city of South Bend, based on location and also infrastructure, that we're primed to be a distribution hub. I got that. Our airport lends that ability as well with the federal foreign trade zone as well. With that being said, why is it so apropos for the city of South Bend to enter into a lease agreement such as that when the land or when the dynamics suggests it's going to be a win anyway?
We know it's going to be a win. The hard part for the city and the developer is that banks aren't that confident in speculative building in any market in the country right now. So when you call it credit tenant lease, we become that credit tenant lease. The bank was willing to invest their money and loan the money to Great Lakes Capital. They preferred a 10-year lease, but the master lease was negotiated to 5, and those terms were acceptable. So it's not a matter that the redevelopment commission needs to step in because South Bend's not a hot market. It's a matter of getting the banks engaged, and that's not a South Bend issue; that's a national issue.
Okay.
Also, I want to also point out from your first question, we've also built into the master lease that Great Lakes Capital will no longer be allowed to do any custom build to suits or build any. Basically, they can't build a custom building for another company, or move a company into an additional building until they justify why they wouldn't be an appropriate tenant for this spec building.
Well, yeah.
So we've built in the protections to make sure that the motivation is there to get this building filled and get our lease canceled.
Well, is that requirement in this county or in this city or statewide or nationwide?
It's in the Ameriplex. That's where most of our distribution land is located right now.
No, so they can build something else, let's say in Indianapolis.
Certainly.
Okay. The next question I have is, what devices are being used to attract these employers to this building? And the reason why I ask this question is because there were buildings that are out there in that particular area that weren't filled for a number of years and still not filled after a number of years, maybe even a decade, because they were so large. And in fact, what are we doing? We had to fill D'Amico to help bring in.
There's 2,400,000 square feet available in the community right now. 1 million of that is actually the former AM General plant down on the south side. The challenge with the building is actually the low ceilings. Distribution centers do not want ceilings below 30 foot.
No, you missed
32 is acceptable.
You're jumping the gun, sir. You're jumping the gun.
Okay.
There was another particular spec building or a building out there in Blackthorn area off of Dillon Drive. This is the same building?
No, all those buildings off Dillon Drive are occupied.
They're occupied. How long did it take those buildings to get occupied?
That building has been occupied, there wasn't a lot of employees working in that building.
No.
Sir, would you please identify yourself?
Yeah,
for
sure.
the record, please?
I'm Jeremy McClements. My address is 1349 Belmont Avenue, South Bend.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to understand the background details, so I'm not attacking.
This is actually a map of the Ameriplex here. The Huron building is right here, and I believe that's the one you're speaking of. That building is actually 100% leased right now. It's owned by the Holiday Corporation.
Right, that's the one I'm talking about.
And then this building here is actually in the new Hubble Rayco Distribution Center. And they're actually getting ready to, that was brought forward to council about a month ago for a 60,000 square foot expansion. And then the under contract part that you see is actually where FedEx is under construction right now.
Chris, you're doing it again. You're jumping the gun. The question is that how long did it take after the buildings were built to be filled?
Hubble Rayco's pre-leased, so it took no time to fill it. The Huron building has been filled for the 3.5 years that I've been here.
That's not the question, sir. The question is how long did it take after being built for it to be filled?
It was built in 2008 and it was filled before 2011, so sometime in that 36-month period it was completely filled.
So again, I go back to the first question. What devices are being used to help attract employers to these particular spots that are being built? That's the question.
You're looking at.
No, hold on. Because we're working with IDEC. I'm going somewhere with this. We're working with the state. We're working with different factions to help produce this. Who's in charge? We had a Phil D'Amico that was working with the Chamber of Commerce for a number of years that, for whatever reason, couldn't do it all. So who's in charge of making these advancements and making these deals happen? That's the question. What devices are we using and who's in charge of it?
The economic development community is in charge of it. So some of those techniques that we're using is we're replying to every lead that we will now be eligible for from the IEDC. So right now when they send us a lead for a company looking to expand, typically they'll say northern Indiana, which includes about 18 counties.
Right.
Right now we're not eligible if they request a building, which 70 to 80% of them always request a building. So we're not responding to those currently. We'll begin to respond to those once we have a signed contract and this is under construction. We also rely on our arrangement and partnership with Michigan Partnerships, which is Regina Emberton, who goes nationwide to site selectors, those site selectors are actually hired by companies to find sites. Regina Emberton.
And she works for who?
She's the executive director of Michigan Partnerships.
Okay.
So she handles site selection for the 7-county region.
Okay.
She does a great job at it. She's very excited to be marketing this.
Okay.
And I would say the most important thing, besides obviously all of us in the city doing this is how brokers make their money. If there's no inventory in the market for them to lease or sell, they have no chance to make any money. So our biggest asset that we have in our community to fill the building is actually making sure that the information is out there for all the brokers in the community so that they can be the listing agent.
Yeah, I'm glad, and thank you so much for your knowledge, Chris. I'm not challenging you. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the deal, how it works out, and how it benefits us later on. And that's the only questions I had. Thank you so much.
And actually, if you want to go back one slide, just to answer that question, this is the slide we always promise you all. So I want to make sure that we did that. This is how it would lay out with the public investment, private investment of $7.8 million. Some of these, as you see the asterisks, I ask that you kind of work with us a little bit because they are a conservative estimate, but we did this just to have something into the power of the slide. Certainly we would expect to see more than 20 jobs in a 200,000 square foot building, but depending on how highly automated the company that would lease it could be, we would expect 20 jobs and approximately $3 million of personal property to go into the building, which in the event we went through the first 2 years, which means we would spend approximately $1 million in TIF funding, we would still have a return on investment in 7 years. With also other taxing units certainly seeing some benefit from it.
And this is in the TIF district as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Just one other question for all of you, whichever gentleman. Correct me if I'm wrong, there was not any buildings within Elkhart County or in the area that had roof space higher than 20 feet?
There's one building in South Bend that's 24 feet. It's 100,000 square feet. That is one of 2 buildings in St. Joe County that are over 100,000 square feet.
Correct.
The other building is 17 feet.
So there's a high demand for this type of building?
There's a very high demand for this right now.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions from council?
What's the key issue that makes this a high demand? for having those taller buildings?
The key issue, there's a few different things, but mainly I would say that economy's improved quite a bit, especially on the manufacturing and industrial side of things, and we make a lot of stuff here. Elkhart County makes RVs and a lot of different things, and we do the same thing in St. Joe County. That came back first. On the commercial real estate side of the business, industrial real estate came back first, and we absorbed a lot of that space. But financing, even though money's cheap, isn't easy to get financing on speculative development. It's just not there. So we haven't put up new buildings, but we've been filling all our old ones. So right now, the real demand is from 75,000 square feet and above. And if you took just that number, how many buildings are of that size are in our county? 6, which is not really that many if you're talking about 35 million square feet. So there's a real demand for space that just doesn't exist in our market. And so people are going to Indianapolis, and they're going to Chicago, and they're going to Michigan, and that's what we're competing against right now.
So the strength of your project relies then on the funding or the credibility of the city, like you said, to be that anchor for the banks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big factor. But another thing, I guess, to point out to you guys is that this is a 200,000 square foot building that we plan to expand to 400. So, yeah, we're talking about a 200,000 square foot building because we feel like that's a sweet spot. But the idea is that this will expand pretty dramatically in the years to come.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it to the public. Anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor of 1558, 1559, or 1562, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1558, 1559, or 1562, please come to the podium.
1560.
262. Seeing none, turn it back to council.
Separate motions.
All right.
Move for.
Motion to adopt 1558.
Second.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis?
Aye.
Vice President Dieter? Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
Mrs. Shea?
Aye.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
President Tim Scott?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Motion to adopt 1559.
Second.
Mr. Oliver Davis?
Aye.
Vice President Dieter? Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
Mrs. Shea?
Aye.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
President Tim Scott?
Aye.
Motion to adopt 1562.
Second.
Vice President Dieter?
Aye.
Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
Mrs. Shea?
Aye.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis?
Aye.
President Tim Scott?
Aye.
All three resolutions passed by a vote of 9-0.
Great. 1560, please.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, accepting and confirming a resolution of the South Bend Redevelopment Commission determining that the tax increment for Erskine Village to be collected in the year 2016 may be allocated to the respective taxing units and other related matters.
Was there a report from Community Investment?
Yes, Community Investment sends this forward favorably.
All right, thank you. Brock?
Good evening, Council. Brock C., 14th floor of this building, Department of Community Investment. Before the Council is a resolution requesting that the Council approve the release of the tax increment for Southside Development Area 3 back to the other taxing units. Those other taxing units would be the City General Fund, School Corp, Library, Airport, Transpo, and County. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from council?
How soon will that action take place?
It'll be the 2016 increment. So we did this last year in the 2015 increment, so we didn't collect it. So the first payment in 2016 would come in June. That'll go to the other taxing units. The last payment in 2016 will come in December, and we won't collect that one.
Gotcha. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of 1560, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1560, please come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll turn back to council for adoption.
Second.
Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
Mrs. Shea?
Aye.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter. And President Tim Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1561, please.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving the issuance of lease rental revenue refunding bonds by the South Bend Redevelopment Authority for the purpose of advance refunding the Redevelopment Authority's lease rental revenue bonds of 2008 Eddy Street Commons project and regarding certain related matters.
Community Investment sends this forward favorably.
Thank you. Brock.
Good evening again, Council. Brock Seat, 14th floor of this building, Department of Community Investment. I'll shorten the name of the resolution. Before you is a resolution proposed to refund the 2008 issued Eddy Street Commons bond. The net savings to the city over the 18-year life remaining on the bond would be $3 million. The anticipated refunding rate that we would receive is 3.34%. The current bond interest rate right now is 5.796%. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Council, any questions? Seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of 1561, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1561, please come to the podium. Seeing none, turn it back to council.
Second.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mrs. Shea.
Aye.
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
And President Tim Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you.
Next resolution, Mr. Vorey, 1535.
1535. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, recommending that a tall grass/weed abatement pilot program focusing on providing youth with working opportunities and life skills training and development be implemented for the summer of 2015.
Move to
motion
accept
to
substitute version of Bill 15-35.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Any opposition to that? Thank you. Committee report?
Health and Public Safety.
That's you.
Very good. Yeah. We discussed the pros and cons of being sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Mr. Scott, you have the floor. I do. I'm waiting for the computer to shut down, but I'll proceed without the slide. This substitute to the resolution 1535. This basically deals with capacity for code enforcement to issue out to the Parks Department grass cutting. We have two issues. We have the issue of tall grass within our city and also opportunity to allow companies, LLCs, nonprofits that are mentoring kids with the vehicle of cutting grass to come forward and to be able to, through the Board of Public Works and an RFQ, a request for our quote, to go through the process to be able to cut grass. Currently, the budget for code is $174,600 that they have to allocate it to cutting grass. The only company that's allowed, if I want to use the word company or entity that's allowed to cut grass, is the Parks Department within the city. What this would be allowing us to do, because we've all on council and in the mayor's office and that have received phone calls about how bad the grass is within our city on either vacant lots or lots where people do not wish to cut their grass, we need to expand the capacity. With $174,600, that's over 4,000 times we could cut grass within our city. If we followed what would the typical policy is to cut lots 5 times a year, that'd be 895 lots with that amount of money. What I would like us to do, because right now our Parks Department does a very good job of what they do, but they're cutting all the city's properties, from maintenance buildings, any buildings around here, all the Parks Department, plus they're taking on the responsibility to cut code properties that are up on violation. What I'm proposing here with my council colleagues, Karen White and Fred Furlick, on this as co-sponsors, is to say, let's open it up to bid to allow people who are mentoring kids, so kids can have the opportunity through these programs to have a summer job, earn some money, learn some of the businesses that are out there, and solve our problem of cutting grass. So with that, unless my council colleagues wanted to add anything, that is my presentation.
You want to add to the presentation?
Karen?
I would just like to say that this is one part of it is a capacity issue. The other part is that this council has asked for summer jobs for our youth. This is just a beginning. It's a pilot program, and so we will work to see how it's implemented this year, and the goal would be to expand it, but again, it's just a pilot program for this year.
Right. This is a pilot program, so there is some work to do on it.
Mr. Furlick?
I'd like to thank Karen White and Tim Scott and our council attorney Kathy Sikansky. This is a very important ordinance in that this is going to really help South Bend. I've been involved in a program like this in the 4th District, and I have inner city youth helping me mow lawns, and we're really turning the 4th District around. And it's with an ordinance like this that South Bend's going to really become a 21st century city. So I have to congratulate those involved. Thank you.
All right, we will start to my left. Each council member will have up to 2 questions during this portion before we turn it over to the public. Evan Furlick, any questions? No. Oliver Davis.
Yes. Is there any consideration or first question? What is your stance regarding capital improvements? Because I think the issue in the code is the issue of capital improvements more so, because if they hire 40 or 30 more people, they don't have the lawnmowers or the equipment there because they haven't had a raise, not a raise, any kind of funding that's come through the capital, which has allowed them to be able to keep up with the cutting of the grass. And so,
you mean to the Parks Department that's cutting the grass for?
That is correct. Yeah. We haven't added anything to that. And so I think, with all due respect, I see this as more of a little tiny Band-Aid on a huge problem, because I think this is more of a capital issue that we need to invest more of that. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the capital and the manpower that the Parks Department has is limited. And they have to not only take care of, they've taken on the code property or code grass cutting for a long, long time. And to me, they're just overwhelmed. What this allows to do is to have the capacity, add manpower, labor within that budget by independent outside sources to be able to cut. The other issue that we have this year is there's only been 34 days that have been dry to cut. We've had so much rain. Mm-hmm. So as the time goes on, when Parks Department right now is in their first cutting, they're supposed to do 5 per lot in a year. They're still on their first one, and it's mid-July. So if their capacity and they can't do it, what we want to do is bring on other labor forces that are able to do that.
Okay, thank you. And I'll follow up on that afterwards. Do we have time to make statements afterwards?
Yes,
okay, thanks. And then the last question right at this present time is the concept of just having youth issues. There was in our last meeting, we had salaries that were in the range of $10 for young people, when there's a lot of people who are grown people who try to support their families, who are seasonal workers for the city of South Bend, do not even come close to making $10 an hour. What are your thoughts regarding this kind of a program dealing with morale with our own staff? To say we're going to give this kind of money to teenagers, but yet grown-up people are not even getting this kind of money. What's your thoughts regarding that?
The companies that would come on, it would be up to them to go through the RFP or RFQ process in Board of Public Works. So what they would do is bid on the lots that are out there to cut. They have to go through the best practices of Board of Public Works, and that might be the lowest bidder to successfully get those lots. So it's going to come down to the lots. What they do within their own company, that's up to them.
So it is possible, in dealing with that youth kind of issue, that seniors or people who are over the age of 18 will be discriminated against regarding this kind of a situation?
No, I think it's within their program. What you're dealing with here is there's...
So they have to be youth, right? I mean, they incentive. So if a program has a program and somebody has a cutting grass business in town and they're hiring people at 21 and 18, because some people have told me they'd rather have older people managing all that kind of heavy equipment and everything else with liability and other things.
Right.
So if they have everybody 18, 21, 22 and above, or somebody 40 working for them, they're not going to get that kind of a credit because you said this is the youth program?
Well, the idea is to employ youth, which has been an issue, and there's at least 3 companies that have come forward that have this type of program that are employing and using at-risk youth to cut grass. It is a way to find them summer jobs. So I can't speak for them to say where their cutoff is on the age range. So, but the whole idea is it is a pilot program. It is designed to try to find the younger generation within our city some jobs. And
okay, I'll follow up with that.
Okay.
Dr. Varner?
Just an easy one for you, Mr. Scott. Does it make sense to do nothing when what you've been doing hasn't worked?
Excuse me?
Does it make sense to do nothing when what you've been doing hasn't worked?
No.
Thank you.
I have no further questions. Just some
You
comments.
already had part of the thing, so you don't get any questions. Ms. Shea?
Tim, 2 questions. So with some of the questions that went back and forth regarding this issue in general, the tall grass, so some of the data that was provided to us referred to the number of grass, weed violations that had been abated. Do we know when we refer to it as abated, was the issue resolved or was it simply cited? When we say it was abated, was it fixed or was it cited?
Abatement would mean that it's been resolved.
Okay.
It's been taken care of.
Okay.
And it would have been taken care of just on that one-time basis, probably. If that lawn could come up again later.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, so that
Okay.
it helps that. And then the other question I had was, and this might be more, I understand that this is a way to solve the problem, but when you talk about funding these types of programs, one of the issues that we have is when the different departments issue citations, the revenues from those citations don't necessarily go back into those budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be any way with the higher fees that we're now charging for the tall grass, would there be any way to direct those fines once they're collected back into a earmarked budget to support this effort?
That's a good idea, and I would have that conversation with Oliver Davis during the budget time to discuss that. That definitely could be.
Probably John
Right
Murphy.
now, it's into the general fund, and part of the general fund is to allocate where needed. But I know that has come up before.
Okay. Councilman Davis, 2 questions?
Yeah, again, I appreciate the effort to rectify a huge issue concerning neighborhoods. I really appreciate that. My question right now, what is the criteria for hiring these at-risk youth or youth? What is the criteria, and who is the person that's supposed to make sure that this criteria, whatever it is being enforced?
That's within different companies. We know of three that have come before us. Not to say that they're going to get the RFP or the RFQ, but it's modeled on their business models that they're doing right now. So you have Greater Impact, which will probably come here and speak in favor. Turner & Sons Professional Services and Holiday Corp. all have programs where they're employing youth. I know from Greater Impact, for being in the 1st District, that their program, and that's the photo of the kids in their program, is designed not only it's not just employment for cutting grass, it's teaching them how the LLC works, how business works, how hiring practices are done, how people are hired, how it is to work and get up every day, show up and do reviews of their peers and how things work. So this is the criteria that's come before us.
Tim, that's great, and I don't want to get away from these two questions because that's all I get for right now. But again, what is the criteria? Is it that you have to be 17, between 14 and 17 years old? You have to live in the area? Do you have to be unemployed? Do you have to live in a single-parent home? Do you have to be under the poverty line? I mean, what is the criteria for hiring the people to help mow these lawns or these lots? And I get what you're saying about what their program is. But as a city, my fiduciary responsibility is to make sure that we're spending money properly. So what is the criteria of the funds that's being allocated to whomever wins out on the bidding process to employ 12, 14-year-olds that live in Census Tract 12, blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking what is the criteria.
And
has that been spelled out?
And no, it has not. It's a pilot program. We're in the process of spelling that out. Chicago, we have their RFP, and they've done exact type program. We've looked at best practices. The good thing is that with council input, with code input, and George King's department, that we would work, develop that RFP, so it would list out exactly what those developments are. The resolution here is just to give the opportunity. And this is where we want to see the opportunity go. We want to see it go to our youth, be able to help out within the city to solve the problem.
I applaud you for that. But when you come before the council...
One more question, then we'll go to...
I get there, Derek. I'm sorry, but just please bear with me. When we, as a council, when you come before us, those questions are the ones I'm looking to be answered, not the feel-good moment about our youth needing jobs. We get that. The issue is that I'm concerned about it is who gets the job and if the job is going to get done, and if the money was spent properly. The second question I have goes to the budget amount. I've asked the mayor the same exact questions. His original budget amount was $193,500. Then the remaining balance currently is at $160,577. Last year when we passed the budget, we were somewhere closer to $250 with the additional dollars that come from redevelopment. None of these figures are the same from start to today, currently, whether it's $20,000 off or $100,000 off. Can somebody nail down a precise number for us that is going to be used in order to employ whomever is going to do these jobs?
As of today, and Randy can come up and talk to this, these numbers came directly for code, for lawn cutting for code.
Randy Wilkerson, Director of Code Enforcement, 13th floor of this building. The budget for this year was $174,600. That's what we had allotted this year for grass ordinance. Yeah, I told you 194, correct.
Yeah,
that was before we made some cuts.
I'm just giving you what our mayor gave me.
Which I gave those numbers to the mayor.
So why are they different?
That was before, I looked at our budget before we did our cuts from last year. We cut that $20,000 out of the budget.
Why? Okay, wait, we'll get to that. So that answers your question. We're going to come back because there's going to be a lot of questions and comments, or actually comments from the council. Before we go to the public hearing, I've got just two. Henry alluded in the first question, there's nothing written down now that says that you have to be 18 or under, correct?
Correct.
So in theory, a company could have people in their 20s, so we're not going to the, so, okay, I'll come to that. And the other, and you kind of answered that because, again, Henry is correct because that's what I had a problem with earlier. That's a comment. We'll get to that later. Okay, anybody like to speak in favor of this at this time? If you'd like to speak in favor, we need your name and your address.
Yeah, Corey Land, 615 Cushing Street, South Bend, 46616. Been working with youth now in the community. Went to Bethel College, moved into Keller Park neighborhood. Been working with the youth in the community now for 6 years. Started an after-school mentoring and leadership development program. Through working with them, realized that teaching just through words and kind of in the classroom, so to speak, wasn't making the full impact, so we decided how can we give them hands-on experience, life experience to actually teach them. So we started a business called Greater Impact Lawn Care with the hopes of giving kids meaningful work and then teaching them how to work hard through that. Teaching them simple skills, how to show up on time, how to provide quality customer service, how to be responsible, how to carry themselves when a customer's upset with them, how to handle conflict from their supervisor, just all those types of things that we feel our 15-year-olds, our 16-year-olds, our 17-year-olds need in order to get the next job in the market. We've hired 9 youth. 8 of them have never had a job before, and so as they try to even get a job, people are saying, what's your work experience? Well, they have none. And so hopefully this will be some work experience for them, and I can actually network with other businesses in the community and say, hey, so-and-so's worked with us for 1.5 years. He does great work. He works hard. And it'll be like a stepping stone for another job. So if this passes, we're in favor of it. We'd like to be a part of the bidding process. Not saying we're going to get the yards, but just like any business works, you bid and see what happens. So thanks for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else in favor?
My name is Jason Benicki Critchlow. I live at 3822 West 4th Street in South Bend. I'm definitely in one of the hardest hit districts by the uncut grass. I applaud you guys for taking the innovative approach, or at least looking at an innovative approach to solve this problem. Unfortunately, I do have one thing to say. I wish, speaking on to the last council meeting where we were talking about hopefully the mayor could be here to answer questions. He was here and then left. We were talking about Phil St. Clair being here to explain why the park department's not getting this taken care of. What's the root cause on the city side? So hopefully we can get some of those answers eventually. But I do think this is something the city needs. We need to get these lots cut. I think it gives us an opportunity to give some youth who have entirely too much free time sometimes during the summer an opportunity to be productive parts of society moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kathy Schuth. I live at 911 Leland Avenue. I'm strongly supportive of this pilot program. The dual benefit, in my point of view, is of course the youth program, which I think in a sense speaks for itself. I'm encouraged that it's a pilot program so that anything that does come up through the implementation of that program has an opportunity to resolve itself. But I would also say I live in the near Northwest neighborhood, and as we're seeing an increasing the growth of vacant properties in that area, part of which is coming from success of the demolition of properties, is that we just see there's an increasing number of vacant properties that aren't being maintained by the city. And frankly, it doesn't feel satisfactory to keep saying, well, the city is doing as much as it can when we recognize that it doesn't feel like enough. And I'm hearing from neighbors that it is not enough, and I'm feeling like it is not enough. So one of the benefits I feel that this pilot program can bring us perhaps is also a sense of accountability, that we can then also go back to these companies and work with those companies in a more accountable manner instead of a broad statement of the Parks Department can't get to it or the budget is run out, that we could really work more on a business-like manner that I think could be very important as we approach the ongoing maintenance of these properties. I hope you consider it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Larry Turner of Turner & Sons Professional Services Company. We're in support of this. I've been working in projects like this for the last 20 years. We talk about not only the youth, but we talk about the adults entering back into the system from drug use and being incarcerated. And we're not limited to just from 15-year-olds to 19. But as we get older, young adults, we use them also to mentor some of our youth and then help guide them through the process of learning how to avoid some of the pitfalls that have happened to them. We're in favor of this because as an entrepreneur, we need work to help sustain the various programs that we have, which are we're not looking to get richer or anything because we give back to our community. The city also has a responsibility to help give back to the community by means of helping contractors that support the youth in this matter. We're in support of this. I live in District 220. I'm also a product of earlier programs like this in the 70s, upon which we used to be mentored by older adults to cut grass in our communities. And it works twofold, because the youth, after they work and realize some of the efforts that they use to help the community improve, that they don't abuse it. You know, you say, well, I'm working now with about 80 lots from various agencies within the near North Side area, but also with the Heritage Foundation for a number of years. And due to those aids for us as a small minority business, we help the youth, they help us, and also we help the community, because those children and even those adults who coming back within the community are helped by the aid of certain agencies that commit themselves to beautifying the city. And we just want to help in that. And if this program passed, and again, pilot means beginning. We don't have all the answers right now. But together, we can gain the criteria. We can use our experiences, and also that which the spec sheets from the city would also recommend, because I know all agencies have criteria and spec sheets that they have expectations that we must meet in order to just be involved in the bidding process. But it's a win-win situation, and we appreciate the opportunity if we get a chance.
Becky Kaiser, 913 Diamond Avenue, South Bend. I'm for this for a couple of reasons. Number one, for the many years I've been coming to council meetings, at least once a month, we hear from people saying, what are we going to do about youth and crime? What are we going to do about youth and crime? And then we hear other people come back, well, there's crime because the youth have nothing to do, they can't get a job. This is a resolution also, not an ordinance. That means, as far as I understand it, that this is our exploring device to see what the feel of our community is and the council is to go forward, to make sure we have criteria. It's a great idea. We have a need, and we have a lot of young people with a need. And I personally am not, I don't care if they make $10 an hour, because when you look at the fact that we're going to subcontract, which means City of South Bend doesn't have liability, we don't have to pay for benefits, they're going to be mentored, and yes, there will probably have to be older people involved in this program, because we are going to make it a mentoring program. So you're not going to have 16-year-olds mentoring each other. So I'm completely and totally for this as a resolution, so that we can get the bricks in place, so that we can make it a program to make South Bend proud. Thank you.
My name is Samuel Brown. I represent Citizens United for Better Government. I like the program, but I think that we need to go back and really look this over, where we can really tie some stuff in where we're really going to be doing what we think that we're trying to do, serve the youth. Because what happens is, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I've seen it with the demolition of houses. A long time ago, we had small contractors, and like we had small trash guys doing trash routes. And as the economy changed and things went on down, the big contractors came in, and they had more equipment, more money. They started taking the houses down. Forced the little guy out. I know a guy right now, his father was in construction. When the big boys came in, like the Pellys, the Reaper Rileys, they couldn't compete. So you got a good idea. Give these youth, showing them how to get started in life. I go with that. I'm for you. But please lock some components in where you're going to be serving what you're trying to do. Because if you're not down the way, not right now, the big boys coming in and they're going to take this.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor?
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. I think the idea and the concept is great. I have a bit of a problem with the council bringing a resolution up and saying, hey, we're going to put this in the hands, in the direction of the Board of Public Works or Department of Public Works and the Park Department, who are failing to do the job they need to do right now. Half of the departments are under investigation at this point. So is there anything written into this at this point that guarantees, number one, that it is going to be youth working for any of these organizations? Actually, they're mowing the grass. Is there anything guaranteeing that these youth that they employ are going to be from South Bend? And who's going to govern the program to make sure these dollars are being spent properly? I mean, we've got, right now we've got, $30-some thousand being paid out to mow the city cemetery. Okay, that's being handled by the Park Department's son's landscape company. Been brought up here for questions, so I don't like the idea that the governing person is going to be the Board of Public Works or Department of Public Works. I think if the council is going to bring this forward and you want to help our youth, the council needs to have some control. Yeah. We've all seen recently that once it goes to the Board of Public Works, you have no control over that. They work at the will of the mayor. So you need, if you're going to launch this type of a program, you need to be able to oversee it and keep tabs on who's working, who's being paid, and where these dollars are going, instead of just putting it off somewhere else.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor?
Hi, Dan Mullis, 632 28th Street. I think this sounds like an amazing program. I mean, you're bringing something to the kids during the summer, showing them responsibility, showing them commitment to come into that job every morning. You know, they're going to be learning something that they can take with them on in life. I'm part of the Local 5. I work at in general, and I see a lot of my union brothers and sisters that I don't feel like coming in today. PA day. I don't feel like coming in today. PA day. Attendance issues. If they would have had a program like this, direction, this brings responsibility. You know, this is what program like this is what the city needs. You know, think about when you were kids. You know, going around, knocking on neighbors' doors. You know, to get to help some of the older neighbors out. I'd do it for free. You know, it gives them something, and it gives them, and it shows them responsibility. Thank you, Council.
All right, anyone else in favor? Seeing none, anyone in opposition to this?
My name is Christian Sassano. I'm 126 Napoleon in 46617. I am struggling to come up in opposition to this, as I echo what everyone has said. This is an amazing program. We have lots that obviously need cut. Our Parks Department is just simply overrun. This seems like a wonderful opportunity to employ our youth. However, we're sort of just hoping that that happens. And I hate to say it, I mean, the Holiday Corporation they do great work, but they're also the one that came up building the 200,000 square foot property out at Portage Prairie. And doesn't seem, I mean, that's a rift between Turner and Son, Greater Impact, who sound like amazing companies. So I would echo what they said. We need council guidelines directing this to the youth. Mr. Davis, I understand your concern with having youth $10 an hour when people raising families don't. But the thing about grass cutting is it's something that is sort of designed for youth. We said teaching responsibility in our neighborhoods. Fabulous. Let's make sure this goes to youth because we nationally need to find ways to do this, and our city has an incredible need, and this seems like a great way to do it. We just need to make sure it's done properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sassano. Anyone else like to speak In opposition, anybody else also like to speak in opposition? You just want to come up and stand behind this young lady here?
Hi, I'm Gina Fleming, and 114 East Tasher, South Bend. I'm not going to say I'm totally against it. I think it's a fabulous program. If, like they all have said, it needs to be tweaked. I just came up to say that when they were talking about where could they spin us out of, what kind of organization. When I grew up, we had Youth Service Bureau. It was called Youth Service Bureau, and everybody went there in the summer, and we signed up for a summer job. We got a summer job cleaning the schools, cleaning the lockers out in our elementary schools. We got jobs in the blueberry patch. But this was all through our Youth Service Bureau. And South Bend does have one, and I don't know if that could be someone or something you could kind of avenue this out of. Because then you do have the youth. It could be something they can employ. It could be money they're given to further what they're trying to do as well. And I'm just giving up to give that suggestion.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none of that, presenter, do you want to do a rebuttal?
Yes, sir. This is a start. It's a resolution. It's not an ordinance. It's not completely written in stone. The idea of the resolution is to start that conversation and be a guideline. And we might not capture everybody and solve everybody's economic problems with this, but it's a start. I remember back when I was young, the simple mentor was, okay, you got to get up at 6 in the morning to go to work. And I remember when I was a kid, just starting that people would, all right, you got to get up. Now you got to get up every day. Yes, you're tired in the afternoon after working, but you got to get up every day and go to work. And I think that's crucial, and I think that's crucial right now. It is a double win. We take care of an issue, plus start the conversation with the youth. Yes, the RFQ, the request for quote, needs to be written. And I want input from council. We've heard too many times in the past that Board of Public Works was the end-all be-all, they just did what they did. Here's the opportunity for us to give guidelines to that. We've looked at Chicago. The city of Chicago has a youth program and an RFQ written towards that. Randy Wilkerson, George King from the purchasing department are willing to commit their time. I'm willing to commit. I know our council members who co-sponsored this are willing to commit to, and anybody else, to make sure the RFP that we develop for South Bend will include the correct guidelines that you guys have interest in and concerns with. The other thing is we got to remember that Parks does a great job. I believe, what's the root cause was asked? I believe the root cause is not enough capacity. This is a solution to add capacity in one area and one area alone. Randy Wilkerson in the code department has a budget, and a budget and responsibility to make sure that the grass under code violations are taken care of. Now, Parks Department are the ones that are actually cutting grass, but this is the reason that we develop this type of program and allow them to open it up. Where some asked about the RFP or the Board of Public Works, this really would be the responsibility of Randy. It's part of his budget. It's his responsibility and budget, so he would oversee the program and make sure that it's being done correctly. Just trying to think of a few others just to respond. So it wouldn't be the Parks Department, it wouldn't be Board of Public Works. The RFP or RFQ would come through Randy, through us, and presented to the Board of Public Works for them to issue the awards on grass cutting. The other thing with Holiday Corp does have a program designed for just this, to give youth jobs within this. Within the guidelines and with the RFP that we're talking about it isn't one big company being able to come in and undercut everybody. It would be on a rotation basis where Greater Impact would get an opportunity to bid and cut a certain number of lawns, if they're the ones selected, are those within the group. Say Turner, Holiday, and Greater Impact were on it, all selected and approved, it would be a rotation basis, so it would be fair for everybody. And I think that, if anything else?
Okay, that's good. We will begin with Councilmember Henry Davis. Everybody will have maximum of 5 minutes for their comments. We will go down the line. Gavin Furlick will keep time. Hold on just 1 second. And then after that, we come for vote. Your question is?
No, I would prefer that we don't put a time limit. I think that's restrictive. I would really say after we go through, then we can come back around, because we need to have a discussion on that. It may take more than 5 minutes to deal with this matter, and I've never recalled when we have had our part when we have to restrict our limit to. That's something for the public, but I have serious concerns when we are restricting ourselves here.
Okay, we spoke about that earlier.
By city code, the 5 minutes applies the second time a council member addresses the same point, after every other council member has the opportunity to speak.
That's the second time, but that's not the first time.
The chair has made that as a recommendation. If you want to overrule the chair, you would need to make a motion.
When was that, in terms of, that's the second time, not the first time, is that correct?
I clarified that the 5-minute rule is in effect in the city code now. Councilmember Dieter has recommended a 5-minute for the first time. He's in the chair right now. If you would like to overrule that, you will need a motion to overrule the chair.
I'd like to make a motion to overrule that, so we can have time to discuss this bill.
How much time are you looking for?
Pardon me?
How much time are you looking for?
Whatever we need.
I'll give you a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to overrule me. All in favor of that?
Do we have a roll call?
Okay. Could you state the motion, please?
The motion to overrule the 5-minute limit for council comments at this time, Mr. Vorty.
Okay. Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mrs. Shea.
Nay.
Let's see. Dr. Furlick.
Nay.
Dr. Varner.
Nay.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter.
Nay.
Mr. Furlick.
Nay.
Councilmember White.
Nay.
And President Scott.
Nay.
The 5-minute rule will apply by a vote of 7-2.
Cool.
Okay. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, sir. Our issues is not our youth not having anything to do. Our issues is that the adults that are in control, that are in leadership, are not paying attention to our kids who are invisible to us. That's our issue. And the other issue that is in front of us is about the way that the Parks Department and code enforcement can't handle. The biggest issue is that we've had 3 code enforcement directors in 3 years. How can this city do anything that is supposed to be at a high level when you're constantly changing leadership? There's nothing against Randy or anyone else that has served, but you're constantly changing department heads. That's our issue. The other issue is that you have new code enforcement directors in high volume areas. I have one in the 2nd district. She's brand new. It's a high volume area. Why would you put someone who is a rookie in an area that requires an all-star? That's our issues. Those things start from the top to the bottom. It's not about the youth component. I get the youth component. Over 50% of American youth, African-American youth in the United States of America right now are unemployed. People that look like me. I get that. 1 out of every 3 black males has a high chance of going to jail, to be incarcerated. I get that as well. If our kids, our youth, are so important to us, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, because I hate using our kids as a bargaining chip, why can't every company that comes before us, just like they come before us earlier today, have a standard that will suggest how these things are going to be done so that we are clearer and more comfortable as council members to vote on it. Put the standard there, if they're important. That's my issue. I have no issue with them cutting grass. I think it's a wonderful idea. But there's an opportunity right now to put in the standard for something that we say is very important to us, our kids, our youth. And we're refusing to do it because let's just see what happens. No, let's not just see what happens. Put the standard in. Make it happen. We have that ability. We're the leaders of this community. And then if we don't put it in there, oh, well, we tried, well, then we also just try to raise our kids too. And you see how that falls out. So let's put a standard in there. I'm more comfortable in voting for this if there's a standard, a criteria put in place that says X, Y, and Z for this to work properly, than I would just saying I and hoping that it happens. My last point I want to make as well, request for quotes. A request for quotes goes through the mayor's office, if I'm correct. So that if that's a quote, this is my understanding, if there is a quote because it's under an amount of $250,000, I think, that means that the request for quote can be subjected to whatever the mayor's office thinks is the best quote. We don't get to see that. So we don't know who exactly is going to get that particular job. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I am. I'm not wrong. So that leads me to another point.
Councilmember Davis, at the committee meeting, Mr. George King, the purchasing agent, went through the proposed schedule. If you could subtract.
It's fine. Go ahead. We can make it happen.
Because it would be a rolling vendor situation, and legally the council cannot, we can only make recommendations with regard to what the standards would be that Mr. Wilkerson will be drafting. Mr. Wilkerson then works with the Board of Public Works attorney as well as the purchasing manager for the final RFQ. So that is why there's a line of demarcation. Your resolution would start the process. Everything else is covered by state law under Title V.
You have 30 seconds.
So, again, in that case, you get 3 quotes or however many requests for quotes. Who gets to say yay or nay to these quotes?
Ultimately, the Board of Public Works, if they all meet the criteria that are set forth in the RFQ, they all would be on a rolling basis. Mr. Wilkerson would then identify those properties that need mowing assistance. He would then assign those to it within a set period of time. They would have to take a picture before and after. That's in the resolution.
But we still don't have a criteria.
That is time.
There's still no criteria, and that's my concern.
Okay. I don't know if Councilmember Shea will be back. Dr. Furlick, you any comments on this?
Thank you. This isn't rocket science. We've got a great program to clean up our city. The only way we're going to get people to move into South Bend, whether it's from Mishawaka, Granger, Plymouth, whatever, is by cleaning up the lots and cleaning up the houses. Because everybody wants to live in a well-kept neighborhood. I don't even think you need the government involved in this. The way I've done it in the Fort is that I ride around with my code officer every Thursday. He points out the code violations as far as grass. And I call a couple kids and I say, I stop at that house if there's a person there. If it's an absentee landlord, I try to trace it down. But Saturday afternoon I was riding down past Rocco's and there's a yard, 3 foot of grass across from Rocco's. There happened to be an elderly gentleman outside. I said, hey, can I help you clean up your yard? He said, well, I'm not really from here, but my brother lives here, this and all that. But when do I have to have it cleaned up by? And I said, well, your neighbors expect it cleaned up within a week. And he says, well, I don't know anybody in the area. And he said, do you? And I said, yeah. And he said, what'll it cost me? And I said, well, it's pretty big and there's a lot of grass. It'll cost you $40. And he peeled off $40 and he said, you take care of it. I called Rashid and Shakur, both the kids that helped me out with this program. And I got in my pickup, went over Saturday afternoon, threw the lawnmowers in the back of the pickup. They mowed it. So all we have to do to solve this problem is for code to go around, issue the citations, and with the citation say, you can call X group, Y group, Holiday, you can call the councilman, whoever, and he will get the problem taken care of for the amount that you agree upon. So if it's $30, $20, it doesn't matter. I have enough, especially older people in my community, that want to mentor youth. And there's probably not a person out here in this audience that hasn't mowed lawn for money as a kid. It's not that complicated. So give the kids some money, tell them to mow the yard. You don't have to teach much about a kid how to mow a yard. So it can be easily solved. You don't have to have all these commissions, all these standards and things like that. We all grew up mowing lawns. So let's get reality check here. Let's clean up South Bend. Let's adopt a good mentoring program. And we can move South Bend forward. But don't complicate it. It's not that, this isn't brain surgery. So that's all I have to say. And I again compliment Karen White and Tim Scott for bringing this forward. This is going to make a better South Bend, and it's going to be better for our youth, because our youth can do all this. Thank you.
Councilmember Shea, do you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Varner?
I see this as a resolution intended to start a process which will give us an outcome. If the outcome isn't perfect, we'll modify it. We'll ask it to be modified. We'll change it. It is June or July 13th. We're in the middle of the first round of cuttings. If we keep talking about it and don't do something, we're going to be into September and we won't need to mow anymore until next year, but it's going to be an even bigger mess. I hear this from many, many people. Let's find a way to get something done. If it isn't perfect the first time around, let's improve it. And Mr. Scott's resolution is a way to get that started. And we already know where the funding will come from, so we don't have to argue about that. That's it. Thank you.
First of all, I don't believe this resolution is the reason why something has to get started. We make budgets, and once it's gone, the mayor's administration can go ahead and put together a program and do what they can do within keeping the law. So what we are doing in this resolution, this is not funding it, it's not defunding it. It's just something that I call almost political theater, because they want to go ahead and do it. They could have done this, all right? When we set up the budget, it's kind of ingenuous to come to us and say, whether it's CODA or whether it's the public works or whether it's any one of the departments, and say, our budget is good enough for us to work. And then come back throughout the year and say, well, no, we don't have a good budget. What you approved is not enough. We don't have enough capital. We don't have enough money. But you came to us with that budget. So that's a problem. Number two, when the federal monies back in the 70s, that was federal monies. Most of that was federal that came to the states. That's so to compare those, it's not the same. Criteria is not set. And so we can have 25 and 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds working it. And which is not, brings me to another point. We have to be very careful of setting up points, jobs that are age-specific based, just like you have to be very cautious about putting together jobs that are race-specific based or any gender-specific based without doing all of those kind of things. Because in this day and time, when I've taken my daughter around to apply for different fast food jobs, she's not competing against the 16-year-olds. She's 17. She's competing against 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70-year-olds, getting the same cashier jobs at our different places. And so we have to be very careful of using federal monies and how we set those up, and we have to look at that. And we just don't set it up. I wish it was rocket scientists, because at least then we would be a lot more cautious in launching it. Because when you don't sit back and say, well, we just try it out and we'll see what happens, really, that's not great to do business like that. That's not a great fiduciary responsibility, because that's gotten us into some lawsuits that we have done, and we wonder why we get into lawsuits. Oh, that wasn't the right way to do it. Oh, now we can correct it. When you have the ACLUs and everybody else showing up in here dealing with discrimination issues, which leads us into the moral issues in terms of our own work development. If we have people can go to these places and put together issues of jobs and they make $10 an hour, why should people even, our seasonal workers, we have to really, I see our Teamsters union person was here and all this, let's be very careful about setting salaries for our seasonal workers and then doing everything else in this area. That's a problem. And to set up a program for federal monies based on two companies that are already applying for this gives them the unfair advantage. When you set in up RFPs, if you set up somebody's job based on somebody else's resume, whoever had the resume had the greatest chance of getting the job. So there's almost no need for other people applying, because if they don't match up to that person's resume, who the job is made of, that's what it's caused so many issues of discrimination in the past, because people have based jobs based on specific people's resume status, and so when the other person may have been a good person, did not qualify to that Turner and Sons or whatever, then that creates some concern. So be careful with that. I worked with a lot of these monies and everything else. So, and not everything in Chicago has always worked. Just because it's Chicago is not something good. We got to look at that, because of the fact that Chicago has a lot of different things the way they do their government, that I'm glad we don't do our schools like Chicago. Thank God our school system is better than what we have in Chicago. So I don't get caught up when somebody says it's coming from a bigger city or whatever. We do a lot of things good here in South Bend that Chicago needs to learn. And we can set that by taking the time to not Dr. Vaughn, if they want to go ahead and do it, that's fine.
In 1 minute.
I thank you. And so in that 1 minute, they can go ahead and work on a youth program. We got to have our yards cut. But for us to put our endorsement on this as a council, some things need to be right. We're not holding up anybody cutting grass. They're cutting grass in my neighborhood. They can go ahead and do it. But we have to make sure that everything's done right for us to have an endorsement, because like Councilman Davis and others have said, we need to put this in place at the root of the problem. Since we're talking about grass, let's look at some roots. We want to make sure the roots are right, because the root's not right, everything dies. Thank you. 4 minutes, 54 seconds. Got you.
Kevin Furley.
No, I think it's great. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dr. Phillip.
Karen White.
I would like to say that this is a resolution that, like all of our resolutions that we've had, it's a beginning, it's a conversation. Each council member has been invited to sit down and to help draw up the RFQs. Again, we would establish the guidelines. The process will be handled through the Office of Code. We do have a capacity issue. For years since I've been on this council, we've always talked about the need to ensure that the lots, the yards are cut, and this is just one beginning stages to begin to address a bigger issue. Again, I think that I would hope that the council members would be willing to work with other council members to really begin to look at establishing what those standards would look like as an opportunity for us to work together to move forward. And as Dr. Varner has indicated, it will soon be August, and we'll be out of this particular season, and we'll be talking about the next issue will be snow removal. So I'm just hoping that we'll be willing to come together and to move forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Scott?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all for listening. I appreciate the comments.
I get this. Thank you.
I appreciate all your
You ready? Thank you. First, thank you to the sponsor of this bill. It's a very interesting subject matter that a lot of people have had input. Dr. Furlick alludes to it's a program. It's not a program. It's basically an idea. And the issues that I have with the idea so far is, like I alluded to in the committee meetings, who's going to be the person that's going to be in charge of what other council members refer to as the criteria. If we're going to talk about the youth, and again, I know it's just a resolution, but when I'm asking people in the committee meetings and people are pointing to different people, their person's going to run at this person, and I'm very concerned that once it gets out of our hands and it turns over to a different entity, that again, we're out of the picture. Having rules in place, because I've seen at least half a dozen, if not more, over my long time being involved in the city doing things, of companies who have come on under the window of mentoring youth that have taken money that's supposed to go to the youth. I didn't see anything so far, and even when I ask questions, if Company A comes in, are they going to guarantee that 70% of the money they get from the city goes to the kids that are actually doing that? I didn't see anything of a company, okay, let's say they cut great grass, but they don't mentor, or someone does good mentoring and they do horrible work cutting the grass, they leave the sidewalk a mess, and it turns out there needs to be, in my mind, a standard of how we're going to look at that when we go after, I don't know if it was Henry or whatever, if we're looking, are we looking at specifically low-income kids? Are we looking at kids that live on Sunnymead that their parents just want them for something to do? That's the concern I'm going to have, and if this is a process that, like our attorney says, once the resolution and it goes farther, it goes to a whole different department to run this. I want to make sure when we have the questions and we're asking, okay, I would be very concerned of having a young group of boys with a 16-year-old girl out there cutting grass with no other female leadership to make sure everything is okay. And again, that's one of the many questions. The intent, the idea, Dr. Furlick, is awesome to get the lawns cut. But if we're talking about 895 lawns being cut 5 times, that's very close to 5,000 cuts. And if we're going to roll company A, B, C, and D into this, and again, that's my confusion. We're asking, is George King here? No. No. Okay. If the bidding process is such, are we going with the lowest bidder? Are we going with everybody that bids? There's just a lot of, I want to support this, and I probably will, but there's just a lot of questions that I have, and I think the community needs, again, the right to know what's going to be going on. Is the public trust, if more money, your taxpayer money, is going to this program, how is it going to be spent? How is it going to be monitored? Because like I alluded to, there's been at least half a dozen entities over the years that have taken money that's supposed to go to you, supposed to go to job training, supposed to go to the DIF, and they've taken 75% for administrative costs as their own thing. So again, I really like the idea. I hope the process will be ongoing, but I'm certainly leery of this going, and nothing against Randy, he works very hard. Again, that's just another thing that's going to have to be on his plate, and his job is difficult enough as it is. So again, I don't know if Tim and Karen, if you guys are going to be, I don't know if Christian mentioned that or somebody, having a council member help run this. That would be my concern. So, do I have more time? I don't want to waste any more time. But I'm cool for now. We are concluded with that. Now we will entertain a vote.
I'd like to make a motion to accept this resolution.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Henry was the first to speak. Go ahead.
I will make a motion for approval of 1535 with the caveat of submitting a criteria to the council of this particular program.
Second.
Okay, I have a question on that. Could you define the criteria?
Youth programs involves what youth? Again, I spelled it out earlier. Are they for certain, you said too, are they low income? Are they beneficiaries of subsidized housing?
See, okay, I understand that.
What I'm asking for is a set criteria. Everybody that came before this council this afternoon and this evening came up under our criteria, whether it was tax abatement or anything. I'm asking for a criteria of the program and how they're going to hire these youth. That's it.
Okay, so you would like them to have more defined criteria. All right. We have a motion and a second.
That's correct.
For
Who made the second?
Oliver Davis did to pass this with a criteria to go to the council for further discussion, or just go to the council?
Well, after that point, it goes off to Public Works.
Okay.
Right?
Comment? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
Question on the motion.
If this passes the way it's written right now, that is the plan, that 3 council members would, and Randy indicated, would be part of the writing of the RFQ in moving this forward. As lead sponsor on this, I would champion getting criteria and specifications from you guys to make sure this is written and moved forward correctly. Kind of like what we did with chronic nuisance.
That's the same
passed
kind
and
of thing.
developed.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor, and we'll go to that. We have a motion and we have a second for passage of this with adoption with this, with the criteria as stated by Councilmember Davis.
Yeah.
All in favor of that?
We have to vote.
We have to vote. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mrs. Shea.
Aye.
Dr. Furley.
Nay.
Dr. Varner.
Nay.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Nay.
Councilmember White.
Nay.
And President Scott.
Nay.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
5 nays, 4 ayes. Roll call for adoption as is. Mrs. Shea.
Aye.
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Nay.
Vice President Dieter.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Did I get Henry Davis?
A reluctant aye.
And President Scott.
Aye.
That vote passes by a vote of 8 to 1.
Thank you all.
I'll save time. Mr. Vorty, 1563.
Thank you. 1563, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving the issuance of a scrap metal / junk dealer / recycling operation license for calendar year 2015 pursuant to Section 4-51 of the South Bend Municipal Code.
Motion or substitute version?
Second.
No, we're not subbing that.
The Personnel and Finance heard this bill this afternoon, and we send this bill to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Mr. Gordy?
Can I make the presentation from here, President?
Please.
No.
Okay, this is simply a follow-through or a follow-up on the issuance of licenses that you were asked to do and approved a month or so ago, several meetings ago. 6 of these applications for permits were held up by the approving departments. Those approvals have come through. All the criteria has been met, so our office is ready to issue these licenses pending your approval. That approval is the passage of this resolution.
Right. Thank you. Council members, any questions for the petition or the presenter? Seeing none, we will open it up to the floor. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of 1563, please come to the podium. Seeing none, those wishing to speak against 1563, please come to the podium. Oh, man. Seeing none, we'll return it back to council.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Dr. Furlick.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter.
Aye.
Mr. Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mrs. Shea.
Aye.
And President Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 1564, please.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, recommending that the city's Board of Public Works update its sewer insurance program policy to include suspension provisions for entities doing business with the city, and that required reporting to the Common Council, the Utility Committee, be resumed immediately.
You have a report?
Yeah, Mr. President, the Utilities Committee had a public hearing this afternoon on 1564, and it comes favorably to the council.
Thank you. Presenter?
Yes, sir. On June 22nd, this council and committee meeting were informed by Eric Horvath, Director of Public Works, that the city does not have any policy regarding companies who are currently under investigation, both criminal and civil. I think all the council members who were attending that meeting were shocked that that policy did not exist. Therefore, this resolution, the resolution which stated basically, Mr. Scott, is to include suspension provisions entitling for entities doing business within the city. At this time, I believe the Public Works Department and Eric Horvath through the Board of Public Works is attempting or has taken some of our suggestions. We have still not received the final draft, is that correct? Or
The final draft was approved by the board last Thursday at an agenda session, so that's as final as it is right now.
Okay. Again, the entire this subject matter involves, again, as I talked about last time, public trust. I find it unconscionable that there was not a policy when the city of South Bend is sending contracts and doing business with companies around South Bend, that there is no, I don't want to say safety net, but there's no background check or no checks on companies who, by the admission of Mr. Horvath, is now under investigation. The current company, and again, I think the mayor did leave, so we couldn't get an update on that, and I don't know who's representing the administration. I'm sorry. Do you know regarding the company, or can you allude to the company that this was referring to? Are they still under the investigation by the state police or the FBI? Because we're getting.
We usually don't get that information from
Okay.
those entities once they have it.
Right. Well, again, to me, that's a problem because this information was brought to us, I believe, in the spring of 2013, that the council referred it to someone, and I'm not blaming people sitting here, for us and the taxpayers not to know if the state police is investigating, the FBI, we need to know that. And especially when the bidding process happens at the Board of Works, everybody in this room needs to know that, especially at this point, the council. So this is a resolution that started this process. Well, once we formulate and get the final information, I'm going to make the suggestion that goes to not just entities regarding the estimates for sewer work, that it goes to every contract and bid that goes out from South Bend, because it's just beyond me of how that has existed over the years, that we don't know or we don't check, or someone's investigating someone else that, it's being investigated, we don't know about it. So again, that is the purpose of this resolution, and I hope to get support from this council.
Okay, thank you. Council members, any questions for petitioner or presenter Henry Davis?
Yes,
Come down the
questions.
line.
So you mean to tell me, Mr. Dieter, that if I apply for a job in the city of South Bend to do solid waste, that I go through a background check and screen, but if I bid on a contract for public dollars and I am awarded it, I am not investigated the same way, although I am still spending public dollars?
At this point, I don't believe that is in the works, no. As far as I know, no.
That's no. The second question I have, given the fact, I can't fathom that. I run for public office, I get background screen. I go and try to find a job, get background screen. I go into the department store to buy a pair of pants, the security's behind me, background checking me. So I can't understand for the life of me if somebody's been on a contract for $2 million, there's no background screen. I don't get that. The second question I have, do we, after passing this resolution, although it's criteria and standards and the enforcement mechanism I'm not sure about, once this is passed, hopefully it's passed, how much say-so will we have given the Board of Public Works on how they do their business?
As far as them doing their business, we don't have any say.
So will the administration really work with us on this? Because this is an image problem.
Well, again, the feedback I got, again, this is not an adversarial thing. It's something, I don't know how it got over these years, but I think they're willing to work with the council. So I'm going to make sure that this, if adopted, there's a draft. And again, the Public Works, the Board of Public Works, they're their own entity. I would hope that the integrity is there to adhere to what our recommendations, and loosely speaking, I think they started that process. But again, the finality, as you're alluding to, it needs to be there.
Thank you, sir.
Bill or Shay?
Derek, do you think that this is just the beginning? Do you think? I mean, I think that there's a lot of areas that this could be expanded to cover. Is your vision that this is just kind of a first step?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Dr. Berner?
I'd like to ask our council attorney, with regards to one could look at the efforts of the Public Works, and Mr. Horvath, I think, is a very sincere guy, as being well-intended but attempted to preempt what may be a council option. I would ask our council attorney to review what takes place and get back to us with a memo regarding what has happened, regarding how you see it legally. And the second thing is, as I recall, the Board of Public Works exists as a creation. It may be allowed in statute, but it's created by the council. And we do it according to the rules of the state. But at some point in time, I would think that if their oversight is inadequate with ultimate financial responsibility, we would have something to say. So I'm not sure we're totally cut out of the deal.
Dr. Farmer, you are correct. And furthermore, one of the items that Councilman Dieter did not highlight is that your committee, the Utilities Committee, which has oversight over the sewer insurance program, it also is calling for immediate compliance with the city code provisions that call for monthly updates to your committee and biannual updates with regard to all of the financials that are involved, which is not currently being done. So that is another component that, in deference to Councilmember Henry Davis, that this also calls for immediate compliance.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I don't understand this. I'm not understanding this. Can I inject real quick?
Sure.
Because I'm not catching this. Is that only for the utilities, or is that for all laws? Because when you're talking about contracting goes up to another
Because
different...
this is dealing with the sewer insurance program, it's limited to that. However, in response to Councilmember Shea's question and the presentation given by Councilmember Dieter, he is proposing that all contracts have certain criteria with regard to background checks or compliance. There are certain federal requirements that are complied with now through the Board of Public Works but you are looking for suspension possibilities for all contracts if there is both civil or criminal concern.
Especially when they involve our own city.
Well,
yes.
So,
and also at the committee meeting, we talked about you can have cure letters that go out, show cause letters that go out. There are many, many possibilities that both governments and private companies can use, and this is what we're looking at.
So I got the fullness of this, Kathy. I'm glad that you injected it. If, in fact, we have that type of oversight for the Utilities Committee, because this is a whole can of worms now. When you begin to talk about federal projects and everything else, let's go to contracting, minority contracting. Is it the same oversight there as well? Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it.
Anytime, buddy. I'll ask a question. Hang on. Doc, are you done? Henry kind of played on your question.
I think it's important that we have a review of what has transpired, and if we view that what transpired is inadequate, I think another resolution or some discussions would be in order to see that it meets the standard that we believe.
Or an amendment to the ordinance.
Okay. Sorry,
amendment to the ordinance of
that takes away that authority and puts it back to the council.
Beautiful.
Mr. Davis.
To our attorney, what is the remedy for situations where you said that several incidents have not been followed already? Okay, so therefore we pass this and it's not followed. What's the remedy for that?
Right now, the approach of the three sponsors of this bill is to collaboration with the city administration. We have brought it to their attention that they are in violation of the city code. We're asking them to immediately comply.
And what is the remedy if they do not comply?
I think everyone wants to do good business in the city of South Bend. I think the fact that it's been raised publicly, the public now knows, I think there'll be compliance.
Nice answer, I appreciate that, but at the same time, basically, it does not list any kind of list of remedies or any kind of things that can be done for the council?
We're not going to penalize monetarily the administration, because those are taxpayer dollars that would be used for that. So again, by working together, we have set the standard, and we expect that those standards are going to be met.
Okay, I'm confused again. I'm confused again.
Are you done, Oliver?
I'm probably would like to defer to his confusion, and then I'll come back.
This is Oliver's question.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
If in fact that there's teeth or no teeth, Is there a suggestion that we have the ability to not approve funds for that particular department if indeed they're found to be out of compliance and not work with the council?
Past councils have done that.
Well, those kind of things, I think we got to be very real with it, because, I mean, my objection to this other ordinance that we have, we can make all these resolutions as nice and good, okay? But the bulk of the power comes within the administration when it comes down to the enforcement and all that. Our job is to set the budget and everything else, and I don't want it to be portrayed with, it's not my job to get out the car and go run down every code thing and everything else. That's nice. That's enforcement. That's the executive branch. My job is to make sure it's there, okay? And so when it's there, and they do not enforce it, that we have to consider what are the penalties, and if it means if a department is not following through, we have to look at that when it comes to budget season.
Councilmember Davis, there's a bill that's pending before the Utilities Committee that deals with this very ordinance. Until you get the responses that you want, that are reasonable, you can hold that up in committee.
That's the kind of thing. See,
There you go.
That's what I'm saying to you, because I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think, and it's not a matter of us having to play hardball. But
It's not an abuse of power.
it's not an abuse of power. But if there have been practices, and it's not only in this situation. I mean, I've been on this council now for 8 years, and we've seen this way before this current administration. And all these different resolutions are passed. We get all excited to publish in the paper, and come a year or two later, nothing's happened. Okay? So I think when we come to budget time, I'm just advising my colleagues that it's something, and when we have these other kind of bills, we can say we're not going to hear this until this is done.
That is correct.
I appreciate that.
There you go.
Thank you.
I want to interject real quick. You understand the memo that Dr. Garner has requested? Okay, thank you. He's done, are you done? All right.
I'm cool with the member that he's done too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good idea. Let's go with that.
All right, thank you. Derek? Tim, anything? No. Kevin? Karen? Okay, public input? Yes, we are to public input. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of 1564, please come to the podium. Please.
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend. You knew I was going to come up here. Just to shed a little light, this started actually in 2010 when this particular contractor came rolling into town, and the city claims now that they had no means to give this guy a boot to the curb. But in 2010, when this guy was brought to South Bend and hand-fed work, they had no problem booting 8 to 10 local contractors to the curb instantly who have not done a single job in the city in 5 years. So I'm not buying we didn't have this in policy to get rid of this guy. I think it could have been done. I'm in favor of this. I agree with Derek when I read online what this was going to do and what Public Works wanted to do. It does need to be expanded. The sewer insurance program is not actually a bid process. The Department of Public Works has a list of criteria for the sewer ordinance. It tells you what you can charge per hour for your backhoe, what you can charge for certain parts, what you charge for labor. So there's criteria there. It's not a bid process, never has been a bid process. They had a list of roughly 10 local contractors that did the work for well over 20 years. I was one of them. And all of a sudden, they brought another man in and said, hey, we're going to save money. We're going to throw all you local guys to the curb and feed this guy all the money. In 2013, I discovered that he was double dipping, billing the homeowners and also billing the city for the same work, getting paid twice. I took it to our prosecutor. I got no results. Prosecutor sent me to the police department. I dealt with the chief, got no results. The chief in turn sent it to the legal department. I got no results. I brought it to you in the council in May of 2013. Again, it went to the administration, and now we're here 2 years later, finally getting some headway. So this falls in the mayor's lap, and I want everybody in the room and anybody watching at home to know this is not the council's fault. And it was made out to sound that way in a news story recently. But they were under state police investigation. I'll verify that. I launched the investigation. Okay? I also spoke to the FBI about this company. So there was a federal investigation. And I'll let you know that. There probably still is. I have a lot of documents I brought you on this company. When he got pre-approved to do work this past year, in 2013, he had to supply paperwork to the city to get pre-approved on the program to work in 2015. He provided false documents to the city. And someone who is supposed to oversee this overlooked his sworn affidavit and the false documents he provided and still pre-qualified him to dig on this program again this year. So I'm glad that they're finally going to get something done. But this needs to be throughout our city. The mayor, one of the first things our mayor did when he took office was sign an executive order. Our president does it all the time. That executive order was for ethics and some rules of conduct for city workers and city officials. Well, if there's no teeth and we're not going to follow your first thing that you did when you took office, then we've got a big problem. This all boils down to transparency again. Publics ask questions. I've asked numerous questions. I brought you documents to prove the crime was committed. And our legal department and our administration and our police department did nothing all this time. So I commend you guys for bringing this resolution, and it better pass unanimously. And I'll give you these documents during the privilege of the floor.
Okay, thank you. Next, name and address, please.
Jason Benicki Critchlow, 3822 West 4th Street, South Bend, Indiana. Obviously, an ordinance like this is something that we shouldn't have to have. We should hope that all our contractors are doing, straight honest business with the city. But obviously, that hasn't happened. It's not happening, and we need to have a mechanism that holds them accountable for that. You would hope that would be our administrator of our city. Our mayor, when he first started, one of his first interviews, when he demoted our police chief, said if you come under investigation with the city, you're not going to work for the city, you're not going to do business with the city. And then we see in the subsequent years, what he really meant was in that one case, because if you're his chief of staff or his police chief or his contractors that he's helping get pre-approved, if you're doing dishonest business and you're being investigated, he's obviously not holding people accountable. So I commend the council for bringing an ordinance that brings some accountability to our city. It's something we need. We need the transparency. We need the accountability. And it does need to apply to every department in the city. We need to make sure that everybody's on the same standards. Everybody's the same accountability. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of 1564? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1564, please come to the podium. Seeing none, back to council.
Move for the adoption of 1564.
What question? Real quick before you.
Oliver, yes.
And Doctor, I know you want to move to doctor. What was your thing that you wanted to do?
Memo?
I asked for two things. One, a memo from Kathy with regards to what has been done at the Board of Public Works meetings and see if it actually met the sort of standards we were looking for, because if it didn't, we could follow up. I think the second thing had to do with what our position is and whether within the statutes we have authority behind it. We created the Board of Public Works, I know that. That was by statute. We had to create them. I think there's still some oversight that exists. I'm not sure what it is. But
my thing is, are you wanting that to be included in your motion as we look at this?
No,
I'm talking about other separate situations.
I simply asked and provide all the information to every member of the council. We'll get that.
I'm going to second that.
Which one?
The motion to pass it. Okay. But could we add one more component to that? How much money does the Public Works Division oversee? I want to know the exact amount that they oversee. We have a $300+ million budget. How much money are they overseeing?
Henry, can we hear that part of the
I'm talking about not right now. I'm talking about as far as the follow-up that Dr. Varner is asking for. That's what I'm asking for.
We have that included as our please.
All right.
Yeah,
thank you. So a motion's been made?
You get the second. I gave you the second.
Okay, second, Mr. Gordy.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Vice President Dieter.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye, aye, aye.
Mrs. Shea.
Aye.
And Dr. Furley.
Aye.
And President Tim Scott.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Great. First readings. Mr. Gordy, 3415, please.
3415, first reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend annexing to and bringing within the city limits of South Bend, Indiana, and amending the zoning ordinance for property located in Portage Township contiguous therewith. Councilmanic District Number 6 for 23530 State Road 2, 56575, 56589, 56605 Mayflower Road, 23562, 23580 Huron Street, and 56546, 56576, 56586, and 56660 Hollywood Boulevard, South Bend, Indiana.
Move that this bill be sent to area plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 1565, can we have a motion on 1565 and 1566?
And 67.
1567.
Send to ZNA for 7/27/15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Request to put confirming tax abatement for Ameriflex Superior Partnership on the agenda of 7 area plan.
And community investment committee.
Community investment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. New business, any new business?
Yeah, I've got quickly new business. I will ask the officers of the council and the attorney and anybody else that wants to get input, several items over, because I'm done with this council in how many days, Mr. Scott?
Don't know.
Okay. And I don't know if it'll pertain to me or it will pertain to the next council, depending on how much time we get it, because there's been several people, and people here tonight have brought things over the years to the council under privilege of the floor for us to look at regarding issues that happens in the realm of city government. We end up giving those to the administration or to the Board of Safety. In the end, when a decision is made, the council is kept in the dark on the results of those, which I find highly, whatever word you want to use, when the problem is initiated by you, the citizens, coming to us, the council, to look into it, we should be part of the people that get some of the results, which the council, I think at least minimum of four very important things that the council has asked the administration or the state police or the police department to look into. We have not gotten the results, which, again, you can use what adjective you want. That's not right. But in the end, I don't know what course of an investigative entity would result from the council being able to look at. We do have the power of subpoenaing people and getting information, but we don't have that arm which would investigate that. So we will probably start, I would assume, under the Rules Committee, and we'll keep the public advised, but people, when you bring stuff to us, you are trusting us to do something with it. I don't want us just to give it to somebody, and 2 years later, we still don't have an answer of who's looking into it. So we will begin that process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dieter. Anybody else have anything new business?
Yes, we'd like to say on Monday, July the 20th at 5:30, the Personnel and Finance Committee will host our first budget meeting. At that time, we'll get update in regards to TIF, the number of TIF districts, how projects are established, how they move up on the list, but also council members will be asked to come and to discuss their priorities as we prepare for the budget process. And that will be Monday, July the 20th at 5:30 p.m. And also in regards to the most recent resolution, I think President Scott, you mentioned that 3 council members will be able to work. I would like to suggest that one of the council members that would like to, or whoever would like to work on that they would submit their names to you as soon as possible.
And I would like to say all council members can give input too, and we will be sharing the RFP process with all council members as it moves forward.
What are the Freedom of Information Act regarding those meetings?
Which meetings?
The meetings that we're about to have. I mean, will those meetings be private meetings? Or will those meetings be open meetings with the 3 council members, along with the Public Works, or along with everybody else when they discuss these kind of things? Is that a private meeting or an open meeting?
We cannot violate the open door law, so we cannot have a majority of any standing committee.
Those probably have to be posted.
Okay. Jimmy, so the records of those meetings will be, just for even if we choose 3 different people from the council that are not on the same committees, my recommendation would be that every single thing that we decide will be open so everybody can get a chance to look at it.
Absolutely.
And not just be based on, well, we don't have 3 people. And I think even when it comes down to that, our office of meetings with the mayor should be open to those kind of things too, because the fact that people need to know what their officers are discussing, our council needs to know. I mean, we need to have an open dialogue, and anything that's shared in meetings like that need to be open. If they're not, then why are we having them?
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? Now we'll turn it over to the privilege of the floor. This is the portion of the council meeting where members, citizens can speak directly to the council. It's not to other individuals, it's directly to the council. You cannot speak on any agenda items that were discussed tonight on council. The council does not have feedback or question and answer. This is solely for us to listen. We do not comment, and it's for you to give us feedback. There is a 3-minute time limit on your topic. I'll ask Vice President Derek Dieter to time us.
Because I don't have my clock with me.
I'll ask Valerie Shea to time each individual. Please state your name and address. And we'll begin when Valerie's ready.
Okay, new. Okay.
Name and address, and you can begin.
My name is Dr. E. Michael Jones. I'm the editor of Culture Wars magazine. I've been a resident of South Bend, Indiana for the past 36 years. I live at 206 Marquette Avenue, which for those of you who don't know is 3 doors down the street from where the mayor grew up. The mayor now lives about 4 houses in the other direction on the street behind me. I would like to discuss at this moment the political implications of the mayor's announcement that he's a homosexual. And I'd also like to have 13 minutes to do it.
Motion to defeat.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You have part of your 3 minutes, sir. Keep going.
So I have 3 minutes beginning now?
Nope,
No, you have
since
to-
you started talking.
Yeah, about 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
No.
Without taking time.
What I'd like to say is what we've witnessed in the past 3 months is an assault on representative government in the state of Indiana. It began with the attack on RFRA. What we saw at that point was a group of people from out of state, a CEO from San Francisco, flew into the state, shoved aside the legislature, and basically overturned a law that was passed by the legislature of the state of Indiana. This was a cabal of CEOs and homosexual activists. What we're seeing here is across the country the same type of pattern. The pattern in Obergefell, which Justice Scalia talked about as an assault on democracy. We're also seeing it in South Bend, Indiana, because of the revelation that the mayor just made. I'm familiar with his background. My son went to St. Joe High School. He was valedictorian at St. Joe High School. He went to Harvard, the same trajectory as the mayor. When he was elected, we all gave him the benefit of the doubt. By this announcement, he has changed that whole political atmosphere. By this announcement, he has announced that he is part of a political movement which we have seen in Indianapolis, whose purpose is to overturn majority government in this country, in this state, and in this city. And so I propose a series of questions here that still need to be answered. When I saw the mayor here tonight, he adverted to my presence. I know that many of you have come here to hear me tonight. I wish I had the opportunity to read the entire statement, but I can't. Okay? what I'd like to say is, when I came and I saw the mayor here, I thought this was going to be his opportunity to answer the questions. He did not do that. He ducked out, and so I'm asking you, as our elected officials, the mayor is not going to answer
30
these
seconds,
questions.
sir.
I'm asking you to take up your role as our elected representatives and ask them for the people in South Bend who have no voice. We're not CEOs. We don't have corporate jets. We don't work for the big people that pay our campaign contributions. We need someone to step up to the plate and represent the people of
Sir,
South
your time
Bend,
is up.
Indiana.
Thank you.
very much.
Next, name and address, please.
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. I'll make this real brief. I've got two privileges of the floors here with several documents. One has documents on this contractor that we were talking about and some explanation. The other one alludes to expanding the policy, and it is 3 other companies that I have personally investigated, and I think the council needs to raise some questions as to why they're still getting multi-million-dollar contracts when they're in fact under state police investigation and possible federal investigation.
Thank you, sir. Next.
What's up, John?
Samuel Brown, Citizen United for Better Government, 222 East Navarre Street in the city of South Bend. First of all, I want to say this to the council. You're doing a good job, and I'm going to make this very brief. We have witnessed something in the United States, down in South Carolina, that good people, listen what I said, good people, it wasn't a color line, good people did something that needs to be done after a very tragic act. There wasn't no firebombing, there wasn't no shooting. Good people got together and they said, we're going to bring something to an end that been going on for 50 years. They brought that flag down. Okay, now in the city of South Bend, the council have brought something to fore to rename a street after Nobel Peace Prize winner. I hope when that council is put together by good people, we'll make a good decision and get the Martin Luther King Drive the way it's supposed to be. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Next, name and address, please.
Christian Sassano, 126 Napoleon Boulevard, 46617. Well, I came here tonight expecting to have an opposition, but some of you may or may not know around the area there are people flying signs asking for work.
Speak to the council, please.
Yes. You guys are here too. Don't worry. People are flying signs, and there has been a group of people coming together over social media, Facebook, the Michiana's Panhandler Invasion group. The group posts pictures of citizens doing what they're doing with signs and ridicules them. I was expecting to see them here today begging the council to do something about it, and I agree that it is an issue in our community, but I think the real issue with the way that we see panhandlers is much like the way that we see it personally. It should be more considered. I don't think it's much of an issue of whether or not you give them money. I think the problem that we have with them is that they make us feel like bad people, and that's really not on them, that's on us. So I would just encourage the council, if an issue to criminalize poverty in our area comes to a vote, to vote against it. And I understand, and we can be proud of the institutions that we have in place to prevent homelessness and to help those people. But there will certainly, we will never solve it. No one ever will. And but it is important that we don't make those people out to be criminals. And that's really all I'm here to say. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Name and address.
My name is Jason Benicki Critchlow. I live at 3822 West 4th Street. I'm here plenty of Mondays. First off, I want to say thank you to everybody who came. If we could get this many people here every Monday, maybe we could make some more forward progress in this city. I'm going to touch on a couple things tonight, one of which was an issue that was tabled for today, which is the raising of the trash fees. I know they want, when the mayor comes here or sends his people here, because he's very seldom here, sends it forward as, just a rate increase for us. But yet we're paying his fees out of it. We're paying the city clerk fees out of it. We're paying the city council fees out of it that aren't administrative fees. They're just extra fees. It's just, to me, it becomes as a way to add to the tax base. I think it's time to go back. It's time, and I know it's been discussed already, to go back to draw up some alternative proposals. Say, what can we do besides tax the working poor of South Bend even more before we get to that breaking point for the 50% of us in this city who live paycheck to paycheck, who barely survive every day with every penny we make. And going from that, now I'm going to kind of branch over to the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard issue. I just found out something the other last Friday when I was at the barbershop that really kind of troubled me about this. We're talking about one of the most important figures in our history, and I just found out we only have one address on that street, and that's the fire station. Otherwise, we have no other addresses on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This is something, we have plenty of streets in the city. We ought to be able to find a prominent one to give him his prominent role within the city. And then on the very last point I'm going to touch on real quick is we continually talk about quality of life issues here, and we definitely don't want to criminalize poverty in terms of the panhandlers. But we have to do something. You can't come right into the gateway of the city and see panhandlers the very minute you hit the city perimeter. You can't be pulling out of Walmarts and Lowe's and everywhere you go, see a panhandler and think, this is a place that has the kind of quality of life that I want to move to. So I think that's something we need to look for, a constructive way to address. So we're not criminalizing poverty, but we're also improving the quality of life for everybody in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Reverend Wendy Bruner. I live at 612 Rush Street, 46601. I am the pastor of Zion United Church of Christ, a community of faith that finds its home just across the street from Howard Park. The words we say each Sunday morning in worship reflect our theological understanding of a loving and gracious God. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We believe everyone is welcome at God's table, no exceptions. In my faith tradition, I hear these words spoken by the one I choose to follow. They're found in Mark's Gospel, and I dare say we all know them very well. When the scribe asks Jesus what the most important commandment is, Jesus says it's to love God with all your heart, soul, and all your strength. And the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself. No qualifications, no judgment, just love. When people choose to love each other no matter who they are, in a world where there is too little love, I celebrate. When people make commitments to one another no matter who they are, in a time when commitment is rare, I celebrate. When people stand together courageous in their faith of each other no matter who they are, when there are few who trust in this day and age, I celebrate. I may disagree with you on any matter of things. Politics, music preference, the NFL, football team you cheer for each Sunday, your stance on war or how you do your job. But that does not give me permission to ridicule or disparage you or call into question who you love. I will love and affirm who you are, a child of God. We are, after all, each one of us, created in God's image. That should be enough. I pray it is.
Thank you. Next.
Becky Kaiser, 913 Diamond Avenue, South Bend, Indiana. I'm straight. I'm a fat chick. I'm a community activist. I'm an animal advocate. Those are labels. They don't mean a darn thing unless you know me. They don't show you how I do my job. They don't show you how I interact with people. They may show you my interest or who I decide to love. When we attack as a society anyone because of their labels, when we as a community attack or plan attacks, that's purely evil. We as a community, if we want South Bend to be better, have to stop looking at our own personal interest and start accepting each other and stop rule and undermining each other on labels and things we don't like. There's much more in South Bend that brings us together and things we can work on than the attacks on each other that have been going on for a very long time. And it needs to stop. Some of you don't have much longer to be on council, but you can go out in a blaze of glory, or you can go out looking like sad sacks. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
My name is Nicole Thorson, and I live in Elkhart, Indiana. Sorry, you're doing this.
Welcome.
I've been working in downtown South Bend for the past 5 years. During that time, I've seen panhandling issues go from non-existent to basically an explosion. Every day I drive the same route to and from work. I come into the toll road onto North Michigan Street, also known as 31 North. In the mornings during the week, I don't see any panhandling, yet when I leave South Bend at 5:30 at night, I travel north on 31. I usually see 1 or 2 panhandlers in the intersection of North Shore Drive and 31. As I travel further north, I notice 2 more panhandlers in the section of Angela Street and 31 along the prominent Golden Dome in the background. Now, since they are set up in this intersection almost daily, not only do the locals see them, but people visiting, students, and just people visiting from out of town will see them too. On the weekends, it's only gotten worse. This weekend on Sunday at 10:30, taking the same route on South 31, there were no less than 3 panhandlers in 3 separate corners on Angela Street and 31 North. As I drove ahead, a regular panhandler was making his way to the 4th corner of the intersection. As I continued to drive to Showplace 16, more and more panhandlers were coming out, drinking coffee, soda, smoking cigarettes, talking on their cell phones, and basically setting up their corners. Now, please understand that I have nothing against the homeless. I see homeless almost on a daily basis on my place of work. They come in, they sit down, they keep to themselves, they don't bother anyone. We go out of our way, we buy them food, we buy them coffee, but they don't point signs at us, they don't make rude gestures at us. They keep to themselves. But I do have something against the people who abuse the system. The laws are set in place now allow South Bend to be overrun with panhandlers that are scam artists.
1 minute, ma'am.
Because the majority are scam artists. Time and time again, these people give business cards to them, to which they rip up once they leave. People give them food, to which they toss to the nearest garbage can. They own or rent homes, have iPhones or Android devices, and I'm sure most of you know that the data plans are pretty expensive. I, for one, do not have an iPhone. And why? Because I can't afford it. We warn the community against phone scams and other people who scam the elderly doing
30
shoddy work
seconds
on their
now.
homes. Yet we also allow people to stand on the corner scamming gullible people out of their hard-earned money. I just would like to see some stricter laws or something done about this. When I come in the city, I don't like my children to stare at them and they get rude gestures pointed at them because I refuse to give them money. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next.
Hi, Council. Dan Mullis, 632 28th Street. I've come here tonight with my oldest son, Tyler. He's enrolled at Jefferson. And I am so glad Tyler has a mayor he can look up to. I'm so glad Tyler has a council president that he can look up to. And many other good voices on the council, including a very amazing animal activist. And I'm in awe because I grew up around Detroit. I love my city. I was born in, but I came up during the Coleman Young era, where corruption and fighting and race wars were very crushing. When Coleman Young was running it, his cronies, his little side groups, and the Zarellis, the Jacquelines, were right along with the Tocos. Here we have a mayor that has a lot of strength, has a lot of pride, not just the city, himself. And tonight there was a person here that when he came in, his factions that back him weren't here, you know?
1 minute, sir.
And I just got to say, this town is amazing for coming behind our leader in government and the other leaders like Tim Scott, and to say, I'm proud of you all. Glad to be a South Bend resident. It's my future here, my son and my other son and daughter's future. This is a great place to live.
30 seconds, sir.
And those voices that you hear are off to the side that say discouraging things, they're so caught up in their own worlds, double-crossing each other, just like the Tokos and the Israelis and Komanyans. They just, eventually in time, fall into the Uber. And people like Pete Buttigieg rise. People like Tim Scott rise. People like Val Shea rise. And the other great minds that are on this council.
Time, sir.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
My name's Catherine Pittman, and my address is 2628 Summit Ridge Drive here in South Bend. I'm here to correct a couple of things that E. Michael Jones said. I'm sorry he didn't stay to hear anyone respond to him. First of all, he seems to believe that Pete Buttigieg was part of some kind of homosexual movement that overtook South Bend and that tried to change the city. And I want to say that as a former member of South Bend Equality, and only former because we no longer need South Bend Equality because of some actions taken by this council to make sure that people are protected against discrimination, and as a former spokesperson for that group, that Pete Buttigieg actually was interviewed by our group, and we did not actually support him for mayor because we felt Representative Dvorak was a more outspoken speaker in support of the issues we were concerned about, and actually Pete Buttigieg did not work with us. I also want to point out that our group is made up of a variety of individuals and is not a homosexual group, but actually the beliefs that our group was supporting are supported by the majority of citizens in South Bend, and that far from there being a takeover in our community, I believe that when you all voted and made a decision about the human rights ordinance, you were supporting the majority of the members in our community. And E. Michael Jones is not, unfortunately, a member of the majority. The second thing I'd like to respond to is that one of the things about that, passing that ordinance, was the belief that a person should be judged on the basis of how they do their job or on the basis of their performance in our community as a citizen, and not be judged on the basis of irrelevant traits. And that's what we all committed ourselves to when we asked for a vote on this council, to ask people's jobs to be protected against discrimination on the basis of their sexual orientation. And that's exactly what we're seeing when Mr. Jones comes here and wants to judge our mayor on the basis of one characteristic that he very openly shared with us after some struggle with that. I know that all of you have certain character traits and certain aspects of yourself that are very personal that you don't feel you should be judged on the basis of, but it should be judged on the basis of how you work with our community. And so I thank you for supporting that ordinance, and I want our whole community to just be reminded of the fact that I don't agree with the mayor.
And your time is up.
But I'm not going to judge him on that one trait.
Thank you.
Sonny Trinko, 139 Camden Street, South Bend. A good meeting tonight. I felt like we had a really good meeting here tonight. And I would just like to see that clock put over here where I wouldn't have to turn around to see it. So if that could be arranged, I mean, maybe right there. I wouldn't want you guys turning around to see it, not behind you, but maybe right over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Buy him a watch. We can move that.
We can buy a new one.
Give him a watch. Name and address, sir.
Lawrence Robolewski, 330 West Colfax. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I'll keep my remarks brief. We're all kind of tired. It's been a very long night, but I agree it has been very productive. First of all, I am in 100% support of Mayor Pete. It doesn't matter what his orientation is or anything else. He has done tremendous things for this city. I'm just recently moved back to South Bend after having been born here, and I couldn't be more proud to live downtown and to be and to see this renaissance of this fine city and the good people and all of your hard work too, because he's not doing it alone. It's certainly a cooperative effort, and everybody's efforts to cooperate is certainly appreciated. And secondly, the only other thing that I would like to address with that regard is this panhandling problem. There are so many resources and organizations and programs and things available to help people who truly want to make a difference for themselves, that they do not need to stay on the street corners and beg for money. It's clear that with the proliferation of these individuals that are doing this, it has become an organized thing. It's a business for them. That's a tax base that we are not getting the benefit of. And I agree with what one of the other commenters up here mentioned, that it's going to make a bad impression on potential investors and people potentially wanting to relocate to this area. We're going out and soliciting all of these multi-million-dollar companies and opportunities to invest in this area. But
One minute, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And I do believe that as folks are going to be coming into town, that is not going to make you only get one chance to make a favorable first impression. And and I do believe that if we do take steps to address poverty, as Mr. Davis Jr. Pointed out, it all works together. There has to be a synergy, just like with you working with the mayor. All of these things have to come together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Barbara Court, 114 West Ireland Road, South Bend, Indiana. I own and operate Maxie's Food and Spirits on the south side of South Bend. I personally have an upstairs window where I can watch this panhandling problem. I see them pull up in really nice cars. They park behind the bank. They change their shirts. They change their shoes. They get their sign out of their back seat. They go stand out on the corner. Hers will say single mom while he sits in the car. His will say single dad while her sits in the car. They make cocktails in the back of their car. I'm telling you, I've seen it. And I've seen a lot more than that. I wouldn't even repeat the things I've seen happen in their cars from my upstairs window. Then on any other day of the week, I can clean up needles. I can clean up beer bottles that are broke, wine bottles, their signs. The food people give them still in the bag, thrown up under, I don't know if you know how we sit, but up where our stairs are, the full bags of Chick-fil-A or Wendy's, whatever is given to them, are thrown under the steps. Twice actually, I've offered some of the younger men dishwashing jobs or clean up my yard. I won't even repeat what they've said to me. They are, in my opinion, 99% are scam artists. That's what they're doing. They've come in like a big group of gypsies type, and they're working the streets of South Bend. I'm fortunate to get people in my restaurant that are hearing about us through TripAdvisor, Restaurant.com, other places, social media, and they're finding us as they come through town. I cannot tell you how many people have asked me why we have all these panhandlers. It's an embarrassment to me as a business owner, and it's a lot of work for me because I'm cleaning up after them. So I think we need to do something.
Thank you. Next, name and address, please.
I'm Katie D'Antonio at 114 West Ireland Road, and I work with my mom at our restaurant at Maxie's, and I'm in the bar, and I sit up there 4 nights a week, and I can watch everything. And we have called police to Maxie's because the girls in the corner are doing more than asking for money. They're meeting behind our building, behind Aunt Millie's, doing favors, and then they leave and go back to their corner. So it's more than just panhandling. I know there's some people that do need the help, and there's resources for those people, But the people that are on our corners are making it worse for everybody else. They're giving them a bad name. They're living in the woods behind Sears. They're walking back and forth. One guy came into Maxie's and asked me for a beer, and I gave it to him. He paid for it. Before I saw he had a sign, like, hidden behind my steps. You know, he's getting money from you to come spend it at my restaurant, which is, I think that's wrong. You know, if they need the money, that's fine. They don't spend it on beer and alcohol and girls in the parking lot. This last weekend, we picked up signs hidden behind some of our little cubby holes outside. Cigarette wrappers, condom wrappers. They're plugging their cell phones into our outlets outside when we're not there. People will call me at home saying, Katie, they're outside your restaurant again. And we kind of scare them off. So I just think it's a bigger problem than what people might think, and it needs to be cleaned up like our side of town, all over town, look better.
Where is this at?
The corner of Ireland and 31. There's PNC on the corner, and like a big castle-looking restaurant next door. It's called Maxie's.
Yeah. Oh, right.
We're right there in front of Chick-fil-A.
Good steak.
Yeah, good steaks. Yep. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leah Morley. I live at 721 North St. Louis Boulevard in South Bend. Yeah, I see panhandlers all the time as well, and it's extremely uncomfortable to see panhandlers. It elicits a feeling of guilt immediately from you, or outrage, I guess. I'm earning my degree in gender studies and sociology, and you know, when you look at things sociologically, you have to look at stratification and why people are living in the particular social locations that they're living in. And I think that we have to ask ourselves a more important question than how do we enforce panhandlers to stop panhandling. The more important question is, why are people panhandling and why are people doing sex work? And I'm pretty sure it's probably not because they want to annoy you or because they are out there for fun. Like, there's a systemic problem probably happening that we need to address in our community, and it's likely related to lack of jobs or lack of a minimum wage that meets the requirements of standard of living. It probably has to do with substance abuse. And we can say that we have enough resources in our community if people want to get them, but maybe we don't because we have a problem and we can see it all the time. And I guess if people with lots of money and big corporations feel funny about seeing people who don't have lots of money, I guess I just don't want them to be here. That's all.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Rick DeViser, and I'm at 119 West Ireland Road. I have a business there. Lived in South Bend 62 years, business there 37 years. And I've kind of seen the same thing that a few other people have said, some of the same problems we have seen. Kind of concerned about their safety, though. A lot of times they'll stand on the corner and somebody will hold money out and they go run across, and sometimes a car will come by, and I've seen a lot of them, almost hit. The other thing that concerns me is that, we've offered a lot of them jobs, but they don't want to work. But every once in a while, one or two, there are a few good ones there, but then the other ones gang up on them and beat them up. And so some of the ones that we have tried to help were beat up later on. There is a group there. They're on a time schedule, so as soon as one gets out, the other one will replace them, and then they walk back to their tents back there and sit back where their tents are until the other one will have a chance to come in and take their place. So it's organized. We have our security cameras, so we have the guys that come there and collect the money from them. They jump out of the car, get their money, they jump back in the car, tell them their shift's over. And there's about 5 or 6 of them that are out there in that area that are kind of doing that. So our security has a lot of, cameras have a lot of what's going on, and we see a lot of abuse out there. And I think a lot of these people that are standing on the corner are being abused and being taken advantage of. And so that's my concern.
1 minute, sir.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Good night, everybody. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Just say that.
Oliver.
Your mic.